What's going on? Welcome back to the No Clue Podcast, episode 191, part 2. We are back. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Mike.
I'm Tyler. Welcome back. Okay, so last time we covered the Western Conference,
Yes.
full preview, all the teams. Now it's time for the East. You want to start with the teams that didn't make the playoffs again?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with the Knicks. Let's get the Knicks out of the way.
Okay.
Pretty simple. I don't know what exactly the Knicks are up to because they're not going to be bad enough to tank, and they're obviously not going to be good enough to make the playoffs. They paid Jalen Brunson, good contract. Now looking back on it, seeing all the other contracts since then, Brunson's contract was pretty good, very fair. They traded Nerlens Noel, traded Kemba, who got waived. Traded Alec Burks. And now they're kind of going with a younger team, slightly younger.
Yeah.
And it sucks that out of the whole NBA, Knicks are definitely in the top 5 of me having no idea what their direction is.
That's their biggest problem because I like a lot of their guys individually.
Yeah.
And the problem is they're doing what Orlando does. We've talked about this before, how it's because there's no direction. It's like purgatory.
Mm-hmm.
So they're asking RJ Barrett to be like a top 5 scorer.
Which isn't going to happen.
Which is not going to happen. They're asking Randall to be one of the most versatile forwards in the league. That's not going to happen.
Right. And they're asking out of Toppin. It's like they're waiting for Toppin to emerge as something when I think he is what he is at this point. Even though it's only his, second or third year, he is what he is already.
Yeah.
They're asking, I'm not sure they're asking at it quickly because his playing time is so inconsistent. I'm not sure where they're going with that. They're asking Brunson to lead them as
that's the other thing. Like, you're signing Brunson as like your guy, basically.
Yeah.
He's dictating where the roster goes. That's you look extra awful. It's one thing to want him, even though nobody else really was pressed for him like y'all. Right. I understand. He had a good playoff run. He looked good.
Mm-hmm.
But to take him as basically we're giving you the keys to the kingdom, again, it just shows how they have no direction.
It did feel that way. And I don't think that if he wasn't a free agent, would someone make a trade of Burks, Noel, and Kemba for Jalen Brunson? Probably not. And that's the worst part about it. That's how I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, well, the contract is the contract. I've seen worse contracts since then, but trading 3 guys to open up roster space for him is it's odd. Very odd.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could be a play-in competitor.
Yeah.
But that's their absolute peak.
Yeah. And the fact that they might reach that, it just shows that the team has good bones. But the meat isn't there. The flesh isn't there.
I also don't think Thibodeau is the right coach
for what they're doing.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm not sure if they've ever had the right coach. It seems like every time they get a good coach, they do something that coach isn't equipped to do every time. So it is what it is. Moving on. Let's go to the Magic. They got Paolo Banchero.
Yeah.
Great. I think it's a great pick for this roster, which the last 4 drafts they've gotten some 6 4 guards in like last 4 drafts in a row before this.
Yeah.
Um, another team, I'm not sure where they're going, but I can see them trying to initiate some kind of system with this team. I see they're trying to get a lot of length. They're trying to establish some length, trying to get guards that kind of do that can fit into a certain kind of playing style. RJ Hampton is fast. Suggs really athletic. You know, Cole Anthony is athletic. We got these guys who pretty good competitors. The Wagner brothers, competitors. I like how, again, another team that I like the bones of, but I'm not sure what this team needs to be a playoff team. What do you think?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't like their bones. Like
You
this
don't like it?
is with the Knicks. I've seen some success. I've seen some kind of formula to like how it could work. And like
Yeah.
to me, that they just went to the playoffs the year before. Brunson
Yeah.
could improve what they did that year a lot.
Mm-hmm.
With here, like I'm excited if Banchero is really that good. I'm excited to see Suggs play more.
Yeah.
But like I've already lost excitement in Cole Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
You
Is someone
know,
that's just gonna jack?
Wagner is good, but I don't care to see him go somewhere else and do the same thing.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't know, man. This team has like they're bottom in the league in direction.
We're definitely bottom in the league in direction, but I think that they're doing a better job of, like, I can actually see their effort. I don't really even see the Knicks' effort to build the system. I just think like they have guys who go out there and outplay people, and it gets them some wins. But Orlando, I think they're trying to build the system before they build before they get the players to outplay people, I guess. Like they're doing it in a different way than the Knicks are doing it to me. Um, they're a lot younger, and they even trade to get younger, and the Knicks just kind of just don't even do that. Right.
I'll tell you what the real difference is to me, because I don't disagree with you. I think the drafting makes the difference.
That the Orlando's a better drafting team.
Yeah, even though I think
Yeah.
Orlando to me looks like they have less direction than the Knicks. The Knicks draft guys that not only don't fit the direction, they won't fit any direction.
Right.
At
That's a
least
good point.
Orlando gets guys. Cole Anthony, I don't really like, but he could go off.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, Ntilikina is supposed to defend. He defends like once every 2 years. At least when he was there.
Yeah.
So again,
and then they trade every other draft pick
yeah,
a year into their career, basically.
Yeah,
So,
that's why the Knicks are finally starting to have good bones, is because Quickly was a good pick. Barrett was a potentially good pick.
And Toppin was a pretty good pick too. I mean, he comes out there and he could play on any team. Toppin could fit any team.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to see what Orlando does, honestly, now that they may be fully healthy, because they're another team that deals with random injuries. I'd like to see if they do anything as a young team, but I don't think they're going to be competitive for a while still. I think Banchero might have a good season.
Going in the plan.
No plan. I don't think so. How good do you think Banchero can be, though? What do you think? Possible stat line.
I think it could be rookie of the year. I could see 21 and around like 7.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I can see him being rookie of the year too.
He seems to have worked on the skills he already had that could translate well in the league.
Mm-hmm.
His range looks a little bit better. He looks a little bit more comfortable pulling up over shorter guys. So I think he's going to score a lot.
I think so too. And I think the NBA is a better place to use your versatility than college.
Yeah.
Because I really didn't like him playing center at Duke a lot of times. but now he can really play small forward, power forward, and it not be so awkward.
He
He
looks
can play positionless really in that forward role. What?
he looks kind of like basic, to be honest. Like just the way he scores is very simple a lot of the time. He doesn't
It
do
is.
too much work, which I think will fit them well because they got a lot of guys who take shots.
Yeah, yeah. Similar. I mean, Eric Gordon was a little bit similar, and so they needed him to take more shots, but he had a scoring package that didn't require the ball for a long time.
Yeah.
I think Banchero can be that kind of player too. All right, moving on. Let's see where you want to go next.
Uh,
Wizards.
sure.
Okay. What do you think? You go ahead with this one. You lead.
Decent off season, similar to last year.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. They often make moves that they don't like. They're not a leap in how much better they could be, but they're like a very slight improvement.
Mm-hmm.
And like Morrison Barton to me is exactly that.
Yeah.
It's a slight roster improvement. For them to really for them to fill out any sort of potential I have for them, a lot of the questionable picks are gonna have to step up.
Like Kispert and
Kispert, who's
Davis,
already
and
hurt. I don't know if he's gonna be ready for the first game.
I don't think so.
Avdia is finally gonna have to start doing something consistently.
Yeah.
Hachimura is gonna have to contribute on the court because he's often out there just filling up clock and doing nothing.
Yep.
And Gafford's gonna have to stay on the court, which I can't even tell you if that's him or the coaching.
Yeah. He gets in foul trouble very easily as well.
The problem with this team to me is they've had a solid enough roster to be competitive. They just don't defend at all.
Mm-hmm.
At all. I don't know what happened a couple years ago, like when Wall really got hurt. The defense just fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
And they haven't defended since. So I really can't put a positive spin on how good they could be.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
To your first point, I definitely agree. I think for some reason they're a team that doesn't really move with as much patience as I think they could. Maybe they're afraid of going into purgatory as like some of the other teams, but a lot of the big trades they make, they let last 1 year and then they do something about it. Like obviously the Westbrook 1 year, it was over. Montrezl 1 year, it was over. KCP 1 year, done. So they haven't always moved incrementally forward, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what this trade was really for. Was it to put more points on the board with Barton? Because obviously, like you said, not to play defense, because Morris and Barton, neither one of them are great defenders.
No.
Uh,
The Porzingis trade was yeah, it looks cool. Beal and Porzingis seem like they would be fun, but
yeah,
is it gonna win games? I don't really think so.
yeah, I'm not sure, and I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure how long they're gonna let the Porzingis thing last. Like I could easily see them trading Porzingis mid-season this year, and I wouldn't be shocked. But he didn't get a chance to play with Beal really, right, last season at all. So I
No.
think they're gonna give that a shot, but it might not last long. So I'm with you. It is hard to tell, but this team, if they're playing their absolute best, like in theory, like on paper, I think they're a really competitive team in the East. But a lot of their trades are just that on paper. On paper, the Porzingis and Beal looks great. On paper, adding Barton there sounds pretty cool. Morris is a big shot maker. On paper, that's cool too. But when you see it out there at the same time, yeah, it doesn't work sometimes. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I see him as a playing team this year. Probably
Yeah.
a
I
9,
wouldn't be
8.
surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. They're another team like if they stay healthy, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
They'll be one of like what Charlotte was last year. They'll win a lot of big games, lose a lot of like easy games. But you'll
Yeah.
see the potential and the firepower. It
Hmm.
just won't come together every night.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to be a team that if they're shooting great, they may beat somebody by 40. But if they're shooting bad, they'll get beat by 40. So, same way, same thing you said, but just I think it'll all come down to how they're shooting. And I don't think you want a team like that, like a full
Yeah.
roster like that, unless you're the Warriors that can do a lot of other things. But they rely so much on Beal scoring, and then just they're gonna have to rely on Beal and Barton scoring now, and then relying on them taking good shots, which is another
It's weird. Like certain just
task.
because they had a weird year last year with the
Mhm.
injuries, like Kuzma got way better than they thought he would. So now
Yep.
that's going to be weird. Like Kuzma was a lot of times the best player on the floor for them.
Yeah.
Even like when Beal started struggling, Kuzma kind of stepped up. So
Hmm.
I don't know how the dynamic is going to click, but I'm excited to see it.
Me too. I'm excited to see it. I like their best, best five they can put out there. I definitely want to see that five on the floor at the same time.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's gonna be tough, especially when with Beal, with Kuzma being, emerging as a scorer. Adding Beal to that again is going to question the shot distribution there, and I think that's probably going to be their biggest challenge this season
Yeah.
between Barton, Kuzma, and Beal, who are solely scorers. They do nothing else on the offensive end. They're not
Yeah.
assist people. They don't set screens. They don't even really move without the ball that well. Beal used
No.
to, and like he stopped after they traded Wall. He just
Wall.
stopped
Yeah,
being
man.
moving the ball.
They've had a weird
Yeah. So.
adjustment since Wall's career there kind of abruptly ended. So
Hmm.
they've struggled to adjust. But last point I'll make is people telling me that their draft Johnny Davis could be horrible.
That's what I'm hearing. That is what I'm hearing.
Oh, it's been multiple people.
But we'll see, I guess. I don't know how long. I mean, I don't know what they can do about it,
If
right? I
they
mean,
play
what do
him
you
at the
do?
one, they're setting him up for failure, no question.
Right. And he's a lottery pick, so I mean, they can't just waive him. I don't know what they just move
I
him
know
down to the
they'll
bench.
bury him at the bench. Yeah.
Yeah. There's point guards out there they could pick up though. I'm not gonna get too deep into that. And also, with the shot distribution, what does Porzingis do? He just watches all that? Because he's not really an elite rebounder.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine what he did in Dallas, he'll probably do here. It's kind of the same thing.
Waste of money.
He'll
Montrezl
look
could have
good
did
though.
that.
Like there's some nights where his range is feeling good, so he'll pop out and hit it like a couple of behind the line threes, and the
Yeah.
spacing will look like incredible for a second. I can see that,
The spacing would look great for a bunch of jump shooters.
of
It
course.
just doesn't help. Yeah, so it's strange. It's not a. I'm with you. It's really not a good combination when you really think about the game. But with the names, it sounds great.
It's
Beal and
just
Porzingis. Wow.
it's actually it's similar to Orlando and New York. It's just like a better talented roster.
Hmm.
Like significant, there's proven talented guys on the roster.
And Porzingis being like that, and Beal still being Batman, still taking 25 shots a game is just not. I don't think that's how you want your team to be. Like we've always talked about Beal maybe getting traded and moving to like a second, like a Robin role on a lot of teams. But if he still has to be what he's been doing, trying to lead the league in scoring, average 28 points a game, and have guys who just are out there just watching him, it's not gonna. You guys aren't gonna get any better. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. Okay, let's go to Detroit. Uh, this is where my hot take lies, by the way. Um, really good young team. Are they the youngest team in the league now? It
They
might
were
be.
last year, so they got to be top 3.
Yeah, between them and maybe the trades for Houston might have made Houston a little bit older. But yeah, they're really young. They added Bagley in the middle of last season. They added Bogdanovich from the Jazz. They added. Did they have Rodney McGruder last year?
Yes.
Not sure.
Yes.
They did.
Yes.
They added Kevin Knox by trade. They added Alec Burks by trade. They added Nerlens Noel by trade, and I believe they're waiving Kemba. But they have Kemba right now on the roster, but they're probably going to waive Kemba. And they drafted Jaden Ivey to go along with Cade that they had last season, who kind of ran the one for them, but obviously we'll move to a 2 with Ivy there. And they also drafted Jalen Duren, which is a high flying shot blocking center. Looked really, really good. What do you think? You think this team is primed to take off?
No. To be honest, and I thought about this during summer league. I don't know if we might have talked about it, maybe not, but like thinking back to how they played last year, you'd swear they wouldn't take a point guard in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, just because Cade's numbers were good doesn't mean that the game, they played good with him at the 1, though, right?
But they improved as he did over the course of the year.
That's true. That's definitely true.
And I'm not saying it's because he was the one. I really don't. Not to what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
The reason like their chemistry got better to me is why they started winning more games.
Yeah, it is.
They battled every night. I thought Casey did a great job, to be honest, especially the second half of the year.
He did. He's a really, really good coach. And I mean, there's a lot of talent on this team. There was a lot of talent last year too.
So I could see them being better than I think.
Mm-hmm.
But do I think their ceiling is high? Like maybe like I talked about with Houston on the last episode?
Yeah.
No, not nowhere close to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's my problem with them is I just don't see their ceiling being high. You bring in Ivy, who's really out of control, to a guy you just forced to play the 1, even though he didn't look comfortable playing the 1.
Right.
So why did you force him to play it all year? It didn't help any of your other guys get better.
And the pick the year before last was a point guard for them, Killian Hayes. He finally got healthy. They've been waiting for him to get healthy so he could take over.
And he's like a bench piece for them.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't even been like in the league 2 years, and he's like a guaranteed bench piece for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not excited about like their upside, to be honest, because this is another team I don't understand the direction.
I agree. I'm not sure what they do with the trades that they made. Like, I'm not sure if Bogdanovich stays there. I don't know if that was just a cap release for the Jazz. I'm not sure if Noel and Burks stay there. But if they do, I like that they're filling out the positions depth-wise. Like now they have 2 solid bigs, 3 solid bigs with Stewart there. I like what Stewart's done for them. They have good forwards with Bagley, with Bay, with Bogdanovich, with let's say someone else. Knox. Knox comes in sometimes. They have good guards. They have Burks. They have Cade. They have Corey Joseph. They have established veteran. Again, Bogdanovich is guard, forward, whatever. I like that they're filling out their depth chart, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the recipe is for this team to win, other than just out shooting people, out shooting teams, or just not
Yeah.
turning the ball over.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
go ahead. No, you got it.
I just think I don't like not being able to picture how two guys will play together.
Mm-hmm.
And
And that's
Ivy and
Ivy and Cade for
Cunningham,
you.
yeah, I'm like, Cade was such a good pick and roll player to me. Like,
He was.
I don't want to see Ivy in the corner.
Regardless of what position Cade is at, he's a ball dominant player. If he's at the 2, he's a ball dominant ISO pick and roll player for sure, no matter what. And with Ivy really not being a good shooter, not being a great cutter, and I hinted this to you the other day, but Ivy is on my bust alert for sure. Like, if there's going to be a bust this year, I think it's going to be Ivy. And like you said earlier, he's completely out of control. I don't know. In the past, the most athletic player in college rarely meant you were going to be the most athletic player in the NBA. And a lot of times, the guys who became the most athletic players in the NBAs weren't necessarily the most athletic player in college. So I think that they're banking on his athleticism, like carrying his game. I haven't really seen it. I haven't really seen it to the point where I think, oh, he's a freak over like other NBA players.
Yeah.
Like when Ja was
And
jumping
that's the
from the
one
free throw line in
extreme. That
college.
was the extreme because Ja was the best athlete in college and he got to the
Yeah.
league and was one of the best athletes.
But he wasn't just an athlete. He was averaging a triple-double in college. So that was like he was doing a lot of other skillful things where you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
he's a freak because he's doing other things, not just being the fastest guy out there. Like Westbrook, I don't remember Westbrook being like mind-blowingly athletic in college.
And
Not
if
crazy.
if Ja had the bigs that Jaden had, he would have been a Final Four. He would have had a Final Four appearance.
Yeah. And the thing is, he was the most athletic player in the Murray State's conference.
Of course.
So, of course, he looked like a monster there. I mean, he still is a monster, but it was more defined. It looked more like he was the most athletic player in college because he was playing in a weaker conference. But we'll see what happens. I don't like banking on athleticism, but this team has a lot of talent. Individually, they have a lot of talent, and they have a lot of guys who you're unsure, that have unsure ceilings, like you said, with this team. Like, I don't know how good Sadiq Bey can be, but I don't think he can be as good as he can be on the Pistons.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen, I can't really gauge how good he can be, though, because it looks like he's great sometimes. He can put up 40, and then sometimes it just looks like he's just a strong 3-and-D guy.
Yeah.
On this team. Bagley, we're still waiting to see what his ceiling could be.
Yeah, I don't even want to predict whether he fits or not.
Yeah, and he looks good for them the end of the last season. I really liked his addition to the team. I think that's another shout out to Casey because no other coaches were really giving him a shot.
Yeah, man. I really don't want to take away from guys playing well last year because again, like their chemistry was so good. Like Josh Jackson was playing well for them.
He was.
And he sucks. I know he's on. I just saw where he was. Damn it. He just made the roster too. But wherever he is, he's still like league capable.
Mm-hmm.
But he sucks at the same time.
Yeah. I think he was on the Raptors. And I think they might have waived him. I think the Raptors picked him up, I think.
Oh, they did waive him? Oh, I thought he made the final opening night roster.
I'm not sure. I'd have to check, but I remember him going to the Raptors. I remember them thinking.
Either way, on the Raptors, he won't touch the floor.
Right. Not enough. He doesn't put enough effort out there for the Raptors.
No.
For how they play. Ooh, let's just segue to the Raptors then.
Okay.
I don't know any of their draft picks this year. Did they even have any? I don't think so. They got some nice pickups though. Obviously, they bringing back Scotty Barnes. rookie. He was second in rookie of the year voting, I think. Um, Otto Porter Jr. they picked up, which nice pickup. They got Juancho Hernan Gomez. I think they picked him up at the end of last season. Um, other than that, Delano Banton that's been playing really good in the preseason games. Other than that, they're bringing back kind of the same core they've had for like the last 4 years or so, which since the championship, which
Yeah.
has been out. They've had more effort than most teams they play. They've been really successful in the seasons, regular seasons. They always finish well, but playoff comes and they just don't seem to have the talent to get past the real contenders. What do you think they do as a team that makes it to the playoffs but is still really far from a contender? How do you get out of
They
that, do you think?
defend all year.
Yeah, they do.
So like their play style, it sucks because you saw it, Kawhi gets there, they win the championship with a talent like DeRozan. They were LeBron not existing that close away from probably another title.
Yeah.
So this team has been close. I still think they're close.
I think they're close too. I think they still are missing just that one go-to guy. They don't really have a go-to
Yes.
guy. They just have a lot of good players.
Yes. And this is a lot more of a positive outlook than I had with Sacramento and De'Aaron Fox. This
Yeah.
is Siakam has got to show that he's the number one guy.
Yeah.
Every
does.
it's like this is like the third year in a row he looks like a top tier number two. But the Raptors don't.
Yeah.
The Raptors need anything but a number two. They need somebody to like truly emerge, truly dominate the mismatch. And he just he can't. He hasn't been able to.
The Raptors are a team that is truly suffering the super team era, because there's a lot of guys that are on the quote unquote super teams that if you move them to the Raptors may go right to the finals.
Yep.
Jimmy Butler, you move Paul George to the Raptors, they go right to the finals. You move
Jaylen
Kawhi
Brown.
back to the
You put
Raptors.
Jaylen Brown on there.
You put Jaylen Brown on there. They're super elite, super contenders. Or Tatum. So, and those guys, at least those guys are homegrown in Boston. But the guys who have been moving around a lot, that put any of the Nets players on Toronto, they're a contender. Any of the top three on the Nets. Trying to think of the other teams that are, you put AD on the Raptors, they're, if he's healthy, they're a contender. There's just a lot of teams that have been formed by guys just moving. They just move. They don't move to Toronto. That's it.
Yeah.
So they're in a different kind of purgatory where it's like, yeah, let's just keep going to the playoffs to get spanked. Kind of like the Conley Grizzlies era. They go right to the playoffs every year, 7th seed, and get worked in the first round.
Their upside is a little more because Scotty Barnes has shown like to be a much better pick than they thought, at least initially.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And Anunoby has gotten a lot better in his time there.
Yeah.
So I still they're a safe pick to be a playoff team to me.
Oh, for sure. For sure. They are. Absolutely.
I can't imagine they start slow like they did last year.
Yeah.
And, if it wasn't for Boston being as hot as they were this second half of the year, Toronto would, and if Toronto had a better playoff showing, they'd be just as hyped up.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you got to imagine Barnes takes a step forward.
Yeah.
I think adding Otto Porter is a sneaky perfect fit for them because they play a real versatile game. They play a spread out game. I could see a drive and kick from Van Vliet to Otto Porter is, a really good play for Otto Porter. Is a good shot. His shot. They can get his shots on this team.
Yeah. The other problem for them is matchups. They still don't have a center above 6'8".
No, they don't. and they try to throw Boucher out there as a center, and
No,
it's really
he's a super
not.
forward.
Yeah,
He's a great
just
forward. Precious Achua, I think, is a good forward, but he's a
yeah,
forward. He's not a center.
right,
And
right.
you saw it with Embiid, man. Like, yeah, you slowed him down a little bit, and again, it shows their potential because Siakam steps up and they get back in the series essentially.
Yeah, they slowed Embiid down a little bit, and he was playing hurt.
Right.
So
But not
yeah,
having a center, you're not beating Milwaukee without a center. You probably won't
nope,
beat Miami without a center.
nope,
So
no.
just the off matchups alone, you're struggling.
Yeah, yeah. You won't beat Boston without a center.
Right.
Yeah, and not necessarily someone who needs to score, but someone who can't protect the paint, and someone who doesn't open it up a little bit on offense. If my centers can just sleep on the inside, we're getting all the rebounds. Is they're gonna have a hard time.
Even Cleveland.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you don't have someone that makes Jared Allen get out the paint, you're not getting any
Oh,
layups.
dude.
None.
Yeah, you're struggling.
Yeah. Yeah. I like Toronto. I like the franchise. Nick Nurse has done a pretty good job there, really good job there. Got a lot of vets, and I just don't know if they ever get that trade. Beal's another one. If Beal went there, they'd go right to the finals, I think.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
They
But
just they just need a surefire bucket.
I like the position they're in because, like, to kind of wait for your still fairly young best player to potentially be good enough. Like,
Yeah.
it's a better situation than what a lot of teams go through, I think.
I think Barnes is almost in. I mean, the team's not as good, but he's in a similar spot to where Kawhi was when Kawhi was young. Whereas, like, yeah, this team is really good, but if you get really good, this team can almost be unstoppable.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I think they're also in a place where if they did add something where there was less pressure on Barnes to be the best player, I think they'd be even better. And Barnes could gradually, get to that point like Kawhi did. But
Yeah.
I like Barnes a lot, though. I love how he plays. I love he plays with energy. He's fast, uh, strong. I mean, he's a beast. He's
Yeah.
fun
I
to
mean,
watch.
Trent looked elite for them a lot.
He did. He did. He did. And he's a strange one that they use really well. But he's someone. It's hard to tell what position he should be in or what spot, what role he should be in on the team. Because you look at him. We mentioned last podcast kind of about six men. You look at him. He's like a good prototype as a six man for most teams, but they have to have him at starting at shooting guard because they just don't have anything like
Yeah.
that.
You know what I like?
He
He's
fills
like an
that
old
role.
school. He's not really an old school player, but like he really doesn't dribble till he starts heating up.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden
Yeah,
his bag, like he's like a J.R. Smith kind of like he sees the ball, he
yeah,
gets a cut layup, and all of a sudden he's like playing with the ball.
yeah, and he
Um,
he also doesn't really dunk until he gets hot.
yeah,
Like he'll hit three threes, and then the one that you run out there for, and he goes by you, he goes and tries to dunk on somebody. And like last year, he randomly had like three posters in
yeah.
like a month, just from out of nowhere. Like, whoa, he could do that? Yeah,
So
just
I really think if their
doing it.
core group, if their top like six stay healthy, they're probably going to be a
Mm-hmm.
high seed too because they're going to have great chemistry majority of the year.
They're a very, very good regular season team. Very, very good. Very good. Okay. Let's move to that's everyone who didn't make it, right? Oh, Charlotte. Let's
Charlotte,
go to Charlotte. Yeah, let's go to Charlotte. And then Indiana that after. Charlotte, man. Charlotte,
they did nothing in the offseason, didn't they?
they just lost people. That's really it. They yeah, I don't see they got Dennis Smith Jr. Theo Maladon.
I mean, that's you getting a guy just to put fans in the seats at that point. The local
Yeah,
fans.
yeah. Someone you probably can keep long term. He's back home. Yeah, that's it though. They drafted Mark Williams at a Duke, right? Did he go? Yeah, he went to Duke, right?
Yeah.
Um, that's it, man. This team is a team that is primed for like a major trade, I think. Like I think they're gearing up for it. They just don't know who to do it with yet. Obviously, they're committing to LaMelo, but I'd be surprised if by the beginning of next season that this is the same roster, that their starters are still there. Like I think think about the package they could put together with Terry, Kelly Oubre, and PJ Washington. 3 young, talented guys. I mean, I think that's something that a lot of teams would say, all right, we'll take it because they're in the ultimate purgatory, which is like, I'm not sure if they're better than Orlando. Looking at this team.
The problem is their organization has gotten luckier and has done less with that luck.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Like to me, and I guess you could say Miles Bridges kind of fucked up their direction, by because he did seem to have a lot of upside. If Miles Bridges was still there, I'd be a lot more like, okay, I could see why you'd run it back. Number of guys could potentially get better, but still, like this was a team that got to the play-in and got destroyed.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, they played both games.
Yeah, they were the 7th and got dropped down. Yeah.
So like their defense was atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that they were 500 was like a borderline miracle.
Yeah.
I mean, guys that were hurt were tearing them up all year.
Yeah.
So I hate that they did nothing in the offseason because that to me, you kind of ignored a solid up and coming roster.
Yeah.
Like now you're just running it back. You're probably going to be worse. Because you lost a number of pieces to the roster. Do I think your commitment, you got a new coach? Do I really think you got that much better? No.
And Steve Clifford, was he there before? He was, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why I don't see what the Hornets see in LaMelo. Like I think LaMelo is good.
I just don't think he's that good.
Yeah, as far as him being your franchise player, I just don't see it. The All-Star was good because his numbers were good, because the team was on a little bit of a streak. But last 2 years we've been saying Miles Bridges should have had an All-Star nod. And then LaMelo comes and has some decent numbers and he goes right to it.
Bro, he's just a fun player.
Right, I was gonna say, I get it. He's Showtime. He the flashy passes. He's flashy. He looks flashy. Flashy shoes. Everything. I get all that, but as far as on the court being your franchise guy, it's not there for me.
Bro, he was atrocious in that first play-in game.
He was. He was bad. Basically, every time they played a really, really good team, he didn't bring it. And I think they have other guys who do compete. Terry Rozier, I've never seen Terry Rozier not compete. I think PJ Washington comes out there and competes. I think he's really versatile. I think he's good. Kelly Oubre is always looking to dunk on somebody, always looking to embarrass somebody somehow. Cody Martin is another guy, the Martin twin. He competes every night, but they just don't have enough structure. They don't have enough. They just don't have enough.
And you see the difference. Miami's a good parallel because at Miami's best, the Martin twin looks like a fucking sixth man for them.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, no matter how good Charlotte plays, the Martin twin comes out there and he's just out there.
and I
Just
would say
plays
they're
hard.
equal.
And
And they're
yeah, that's what
equal.
I'm saying. To me, they're
Yeah.
not, one
Yeah.
is not way better than the other, but
No.
Miami's structure puts a guy who plays really hard like that, who can do multiple things, can go
Yeah.
off.
Yep.
And in Charlotte, he's just there, filling the roster.
Yeah. And also with Charlotte, I don't think that the players are really in the right places to succeed. I think Terry Rozier has the ball way too much. I don't really like the spread out, and LaMelo just like does like a 5 out with the ball. Like he just tries to make something happen and get somebody open. He's really not that kind of point guard to me. And it just gets sloppy. The team is just sloppy. I think this team is going to be really bad this year. I think this is the year that they're going to really have to make a decision, because I think that they're going to be shocked when teams like Detroit and teams like Orlando beats the crap out of them.
And my thing is, like, they're going to have to make that trade, but it's going to be too late because the culture is not there.
Yep.
And I could see it being like Sacramento. Like, yeah, Sabonis is a great pickup, but if you don't know how to play, you're still going to lose.
Yeah. And you have a good point guard. If he's just going to be running around, trying to get stats, then it's not going to help.
Yeah, man, I really don't like how random he plays.
LaMelo?
Yeah, man, like he'll just jack 8 threes just because he's kind of open one night.
Mm-hmm.
Other night he'll try like every highlight lob he can.
Mm-hmm.
And then another night he's just under control, taking good shots.
Yeah.
I'm like, why can't I get that guy?
They need someone to, I don't mean this, I guess for a lack of a better word, they need someone that he has to submit to on the court. Whereas, like, all right, you're done with that for the day. Like, they don't have anyone that does that to him.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't say like a person has to say something to him, but I'm saying that there's someone that's obviously more talented than him, that he knows, all right, it's his time now. Like, I'm good. I tried something, it didn't work. Let's play our game now. And they don't really have that, because unfortunately, Terry Rozier does a very similar thing, just not to the detriment of the team like LaMelo's is, because LaMelo plays the point. But I mean, Gordon Hayward, I'm not sure if Gordon Hayward is ever going to play a full season, like for the rest of his career at this point. So
doubtful.
I don't really have anything to say about him, unfortunately.
If Steve Clifford can get them to play defense, they'll be a play-in competitor.
I'm gonna disagree, but I'm not gonna be surprised if that happens. Yeah, but I'm gonna say I have no idea which aliens took Kelly Oubre's powers from him. 3 years ago, Kelly Oubre was everyone wanted Kelly Oubre.
Insanely hot and cold player.
Yeah, I mean, his last year in Phoenix, there was no team in the league that didn't want Kelly Oubre.
I know.
And then now it's like, yo, who would want Kelly Oubre?
Dude, he'll shoot like 60% for a month and then like 20 for the next month.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. It's really, really strange. It's really strange. All right. Pacers. Indiana Pacers.
I gotta be honest. This is the team I least care about in the league right now.
Really?
Without second, Spurs being number one.
Hey, okay. Go ahead. Tell me more.
This team is like they are the opposite of having direction.
Of having what?
Of having direction. They're like the opposite. They try things to not have direction.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, they're making a lot of moves to not have direction.
Orlando keeps some guys to keep some of the rotation consistent year to year. I mean, New York has done that. The Wizards do that. Detroit has done that.
Yeah.
Indiana wants to move everybody who's a competent starter or bench player.
It is really weird that they do that.
Why in the world were they the team that was excited to get Halliburton?
I have no idea.
What like who's out there that you're looking at alongside Halliburton? Like, wow, man, like this is gonna be a dynamic lineup at some point.
The weirdest part about them is that the team, the players they have aren't bad. Like if you put them together somehow, you could put together, oh, this isn't that bad of a team. But they never play everybody. They never play like the full roster of guys. They're like start Buddy and then sit Buddy for the next, like start Buddy in the first quarter, then sit him for the next 3 quarters. So I don't even know. They just throw random guys out there. They keep trying different guys, and like you said, they trade every decent vet that they have. It's it's a strange thing because they're really not bad enough to me to be in like the instant tank scenario. Not
You
to
know what?
me.
It's almost like Larry wants to like purge the roster hard enough for them to be awful and really have like a number one pick year.
Yeah,
And they keep playing too good for that.
exactly. That's exactly what it's like, and I don't understand why they keep trying. And just go with what you have. This is defense line.
Like I've seen you pick. You don't have to be in the top 5 to get solid players.
Well, right. Listen to this. Listen to this squad. They have obviously they have Halliburton, T.J. McConnell, Tris Duarte, who I really like. Then they have Buddy. Then they have Isaiah Jackson, who's played well for them at times. O'Shea Brissett, who's played really well for them at times. They have James Johnson, the vet. Then they have Jalen Smith, who was great last year for Phoenix. They have Daniel Tice, who we know is a starter caliber, well, has been a starter caliber. He shouldn't be starting, but we know how good Daniel Tice is. They have Miles Turner, and then they have the rookie Mathurin, who looks fantastic. Like that team could be a competitive team.
I
I'm
know.
not saying they're a contender, but they could be a good team.
I know. And it killed me last year because I thought Carlisle coming in, like, I'm like, this team is like, it's easy to put together and make competitive.
And they just let Warren walk out the door, right? They could have brought Warren back to this team.
For nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Yeah, for
understand
peanuts.
why. For low risk, high reward, you completely give up on Oladipo, even though you could have had the same situation. You're not going anywhere anyway.
I know, and they got Mathurin, who looks a lot like Oladipo when he's out there. To be honest, like I don't know, why they're doing this. They don't need to tank, but they're tanking. So that's the strangest thing. They've been just trying to get rid of their best players. The 2 best players, Buddy and Turner, they've been trying to get rid of them for like 3 years.
Dude,
When
if
they
they
could just say,
somehow
"Hey,
get Russ, if that really happens,
disaster."
I'd be disgusted with them.
I don't know. I don't even know what they do with him. Russ and Mathurin may end up being one of the better backcourts in the East. Like this, I'm not saying that would happen, but I'm
For
saying
no
based on
reason at all. Yeah.
based on what's happened in the past, that's what happens. They go out there and they have Carlisle, who's a championship coach, a coach of the year, former coach of the year. They just bring him in and like, hey, run this team into the ground somehow, but they look great.
Like
They look
again,
great, man.
they hired a coach where any competent roster or organization I'd have been like, great hire. Like this is exactly who you should have got.
Yeah.
But they're like the only team. I'm like, why did you get one of the best coaches in the league? For what?
Who has never really had a team of a team this young. He's never had a team this young before. And normally in the past, he's done great with these veteran teams. I just need a quick change of direction. Carlisle's the guy. But this, I don't know.
I
I don't
mean,
know. And I actually really like this roster.
I mean, you look at it,
Really
Dwayne
did.
Casey's a good coach, and it's taking him a long time to start winning.
It has, yeah.
Like
But this is like his
rebuilds
fourth
with
year.
draft-based rebuilds are so hit and miss that
Yeah.
like you have to have some kind of committed direction, or you're looking at Indiana or some of these other teams.
And one thing that's dangerous about the draft-based rebuilds is because you'll get a good pick that becomes your go-to guy, and then you'll get another pick that should be a go-to guy, and then they can't coexist together. Like that's happened a lot of times. I
Yeah.
can't think of one like right off the top of my head, but let's say this Matherin dude, who we'll talk about later again, but let's say he averages 20, 22, then they go get another top 5 pick, and now Matherin isn't averaging 22 because this new guy needs to average 22, and then it just may not mesh, and then you have to trade Matherin, and then it's another disaster. So, I don't know. I like where they are, but they're gonna try to make the trade, and they're gonna try to tank, and it's gonna be a weird season for them. So
Yeah.
and the crazy thing is, they went from being like a team that could shock somebody in the playoffs to, all right, forget it. Let's just end it. Let's just blow it up. In like one season, it felt like. Well, Oladipo's injury is what made them do that, I think. But
Yeah.
yeah. No, even the injury, yeah.
But they like hung on to him for a while and waited for him to come back. And then we're like, all right, now he's a trade asset. Like,
Yeah.
what is he a trade? Like, what are you making these moves for?
It's a good question. Very good question. All right. Now it's time for playoff teams.
Yes.
Well, Cleveland was in the play in, so we can start with them. But we talked about them a lot over the summer. Getting
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell,
Big summer.
one of my favorite trades, because I mean he's arguably the best player that got moved over the summer. And this team is on the verge of getting somewhere. They're not quite to contention, but
I think they're the second tier.
they're the next tier. Yeah, they're like could beat you in the first round, could get swept in the first round area, I guess. But adding Donovan, a bona fide go-to guy to this team, it looks really nice, man. I like how the roster is forming up. We mentioned earlier they still have some holes, but I think they have a really good combination of young guys and vets, that maybe the best combination of young guys and vets in the East. Between, Love, LeVert is now a vet. Jared Allen, I would say, is a vet now. And then those guys with Donovan, who's between young guy and vet. Darius Garland is a young guy. Okoro's young. And more vets with Neto, Rubio, Robin Lopez, and their core is young. Osman and Mobley. I like their team, man. I do. What do you think is their ceiling this year, though? What seed if they
You
make
know
the
what?
playoffs?
I think even if they play one of the better contenders in the first round, like Milwaukee, I think it's going to be a tough series.
Okay.
I think because they're like a first year group, as far as the top to bottom. I
Yeah.
think they're probably going to have high and low stretches of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And they're probably going to end up having like a extra tough road because they might be a lower seed or just might match up with somebody else who struggled more during the season.
Yeah.
And I think they could beat everybody in the East except Milwaukee.
I think they'd have a tough time with Boston, but I agree with everything else. Yeah. I think they could beat those teams. And we mentioned them not having the small forward, which is going to be tough, but they have the firepower and they have the inside defense is just lockdown for them. I mean, between Allen and Mobley, I mean, even Robin Lopez has been a decent defender throughout his career. He won't be on the court that much, but for the little time he'll be out there, he's a good pickup for them. They have great guards, great ball movement, and all their guys are truly hungry. And that's something you really can't say about a lot of the other teams. Even Orlando's a young team, but I don't see all those guys as hungry as Lamar Stevens and Okoro, and obviously we know Karis LeVert is always out there, hungry. Those guys are out here trying to make a name for themselves in the league, and they look good, man. Solid staff too. JB Bickerstaff has done a great job.
Yeah.
They got Luke Walton, who's better as an assistant coach. Sidney Lowe has been a good assistant coach his whole career. I like it. I like where they're going.
It's crazy to think, like, because Donovan kind of fills in the puzzle for them.
Yeah, he does.
Because my thoughts watching them in the play-in struggle to not be able to check Kyrie and KD.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching. I'm like, wow, like I like pretty much everybody they got coming off the bench.
Yeah,
I like the chemistry of their starters.
Yep.
Like this is essentially a championship roster once Donovan Mitchell completes the puzzle.
Yeah. Once they get to find a way to integrate the real Donovan, the peak Donovan that we know he can be, I do think they're almost, I mean, at least really close to being a championship roster. I agree. Yeah.
And it's funny because we've kind of had the theme of some of these other organizations struggling to have direction. Cleveland, who would have thought? If you had asked me 4 or 5 years ago that Cleveland of all these teams would have by far and away the best direction,
Mm-hmm.
I would have been shocked, and I'm still shocked.
Me too. And you know, they did a good job sneaking in on those three-way trades, right? Because they got in on the Harden trade for LeVert and Allen. And I don't even remember what they gave up in that.
But you could just see the purpose of all the moves they made.
Yeah. Yeah.
Versus Indiana, where I see no purpose in any of the moves.
Right. Because their moves haven't necessarily improved them. They were actually made because they wanted to get worse.
Yeah.
And it just happened to make them pretty good. But all these moves have been to make them better for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I like it, man. I'm happy for Donovan. You know, I've been Donovan champion on this podcast for a while now. I hope he has a really good season and shows the doubters why he's one of the best shooting guards in the league.
And I'm gonna be honest, I'm happy for Love because Love has endured, a rebuild. Luckily, a quick one, but I mean, he was on there when they were winning struggling to win 15, 20 games. Playing big minutes.
Yeah, and also Rubio, who's been moving around as as the old guy that can teach the young guys some things guy, and now he may be a sixth man on this team.
Yeah.
Or he may be a seventh man that really contributes to this team because, both of him and Garland are somewhat injury prone. So, I mean, they may not have Garland the whole season, and Rubio is a great replacement for him, for certain stretches of games. Not saying the whole season, but, everybody misses games here and there. Rubio's a good guy.
They've had, you just see how quickly they have depth now. You can see that the championship bones have been there for years now.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Let's go to where do you want to go next?
Let's go Chicago.
All playoff teams. Chicago, okay. Chicago has, I would say, at this point, my favorite roster in the league because they just pretty much have all playable guys. And I don't think I can say that. It's definitely not for any of the teams that we've talked about so far. But you're looking at Patrick Williams, Javonte Green, Tony, I'm just going bottom to the top. Tony Bradley. Uh, they got Dragic this year. They got Drummond. They got Kobe White, Derek Jones, Alex Caruso, and then the starters with Lonzo Ball, Levine, DeRozan, Vucevic, and who did I miss? Oh, Sumo. So they got a lot of firepower. Their young guys have emerged very well. I mean, Kobe White missed, I want to say, almost
Did you
his
say
whole season.
Caruso?
Yeah, it's a Caruso. Yeah.
Okay.
Kobe White missed almost a full season. He came back,
Yeah.
looked great. They were worried about it. I remember them, him maybe on the trade block, but he came back, looked great, and found a way to still fit on this roster. And I think that's something that Billy Donovan has done his whole career, was like, even with guys that maybe you would think shouldn't be on the team, he finds something for them to do out there. Like, I've never seen guys on Billy Donovan's roster and thinking, oh, they need to trade that guy. Because for some reason he figures out a place for them to still contribute. Like, you think his Thunder team had a bunch of guys who were like, why are they on this? They wouldn't make any other roster, but they're out here and they're playing well because he finds that spot for them, which is good. But and I think they'll have a good regular season. But last year the playoffs were really, really disappointing. They're almost gross,
Yeah. And you
Vucevic not playing defense.
Milwaukee went into the next round and looked very mortal, especially without Middleton, but not against Chicago.
And Middleton got hurt in game 4 of this series, right? I think it went to 5. I think he just didn't play in the last one.
I think it was like 3.
Game 3, maybe?
Yeah, because I remember Chicago took a game and made it sort of like 2-1, and it kind of was sneaking to be a series for the quickest second.
Yeah. Because I think they took the first one in Chicago, and then
but either way, Chicago is very dangerous because their ceiling and their floor are very, like, there's a lot of potential on both sides to me.
Yeah. They're a team that could have the best record in the East, and
Yeah, I think they could be a number 1 seed. I think they could look as good as any of the Eastern teams could look. I also think they could look as messy as the Wizards might look.
Yes,
I could very easily see what happened last year being a fluke.
As far as
DeRozan being that hot for that long.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Levine being healthy all year. That's a tough gamble.
He missed a lot of games last season. So
Lonzo's probably out for the year already. We know that.
Yeah.
And while hypothetically, like, Caruso, DeSunmu, Kobe White, like you could fill in for Lonzo's absence. The problem is none of those guys, even Dragic, none of those guys do what Lonzo does.
Exactly, yeah.
Where elevate, if the 4 guys with him are playing great, Lonzo makes them even better.
Yep.
None of those guys offer that. And that's where their chemistry looks so good, especially with Lonzo and Caruso out there, because those guys feed off of your best players playing well.
Yeah. You're completely right.
Their front court, you reading out their roster, their front court is still thin. If I get Drummond with 2 pump fakes, you got to put Vucevic back out there early, and we're just going to work.
Yeah, I thought they were going to keep Tristan Thompson, which it doesn't look like they did.
Tony Bradley sucks.
Yeah, Tony Bradley's not it. Tristan Thompson, if they did keep him being their third, would have been nice. But
and I think he sucks, and I completely agree.
Yeah, I don't know why this team is so and I don't think it's Billy, but why this franchise is so bent on going so small. Because there's a lot of power forwards out there that they could use, but just going with like Javonte Green as a de facto power forward. Patrick Williams really isn't a power forward. He's just a big, small forward. I'm not sure why they like that, but that's how they're going, I
I
guess.
mean,
And I don't
look
know.
at it like this: like their roster, while it looks deep, it's not. Because if you look down the East, if Jimmy Butler or Bam miss time, Miami will be all right.
Yeah,
I mean, not for
yeah.
the playoffs, but just for the season, they'll
They're
still
they're
be competent.
they're not good though, because sometimes those guys don't really do anything when they're there.
But just for the sake of the
Unfortunately, but
comparison, again, it just
yeah, I
proves that
got
the
you. Yeah,
roster is built to survive in like a bad injury month.
right. That's true. Yeah, and their play
Boston
style
has
is.
right. Boston could do it now.
Hmm.
Milwaukee could do it.
Hmm.
I think
That's because
Philly's
yeah,
capable of doing it. Philly last year was
uh,
great without Embiid.
yeah, yeah.
Again, this is
They
all
were.
right, like regular season stretches. My problem
Yeah.
is Levine gets hurt. Chicago's like how good Chicago looks falls off a cliff.
Well, I mean, he got hurt last year, and DeRozan had to be an MVP candidate to keep them going. But the thing is, I think the difference with the Bulls and those teams is that it'll be a lot of people hurt at the same time that makes them look really bad. Like last season when looked really bad, it was Alonso, it was Kobe White, it was Caruso, it was um, it was Levine, and someone else was all hurt at like the same time. Oh, Patrick Williams was hurt the whole season.
All year.
Like it, yeah, and with that, with the 5 or 6 guys, 4 or 5 guys, they're gonna have a hard time. But I think this year, going into this year, already having the roster. The last year they made a DeRozan trade late. They got Javante Green into the rotation late. Billy Donovan was new there. It was a lot of other variables. But I think coming in this year, knowing how they play, I think they'll be better if they have an injury. I think they will. I have confidence, but I understand why you say that, because you think if a bench guy has to start for a while or has to play significantly, it does seem like they would take a really, really big step back. But
Their
I'm not
depth
sure. I'm
fell
not
off a
so sure.
cliff. Every time they lost somebody significant last year, their depth fell off a cliff.
Yeah, it did, but it was never just one guy. Is all I'm saying. Last
Right.
year, Williams was out the whole season. Then when Levine went out with him, Kobe White still wasn't back. And then Lonzo was out for almost the whole season. And then the Caruso situation happened. He missed 2 months. So
But
hopefully they don't deal with something like that again.
but you know who wasn't
Uh,
hurt all year was DeRozan.
yeah, and he was
And think about what they look like. Again, hopefully it doesn't happen, but let's say he misses a month.
disaster.
There's a good chance they're horrible.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
my fear is their roster
that's the biggest
of all
fear.
their rosters, like the Wizards, even the Knicks, you see the
Hmm.
potential there. With Chicago, it feels paper thin, just even reading it.
It's top heavy for sure. It's
It feels
definitely
like a
top
house of
heavy.
cards ready to crumble. That's my only fear. I hope I'm wrong.
We'll see. We'll see. Before DeRozan got there, Levine was, an all-star. He was up there
They
leading the
were
league and
it meant nothing.
scoring. Right, but they weren't good. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I like them, but I don't see them as a
I don't
contender
love them.
fight. Right. Yeah. I got you. I don't love them either, but I do think they're going to be another really good regular season team, and then playoffs. I'm not sure they're going to have it, but I'm not sure how they get it either. I'm not sure what they're missing to be a true contender. What do you think?
I don't know, man. It's something about their front court. I just don't like it. I just wish their front court was different. I don't even like, I can't even really explain a specific player I'd want for them. But
Vucevic has been a loser his whole career. And I don't mean loser as in he is a loser, but he's been on a losing team his entire career until he got to the Bulls. So when you go into the playoffs with someone like that playing such a significant role, it's going to be tough for him to get into gear with how they need him to play. I know people who don't play
He
basketball
can't
don't see that, but
elevate. There's no
yeah,
other level to his game.
exactly, exactly, exactly. Yeah, hey, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I'm curious about them. They're gonna be a lot of fun to watch, no matter what.
They're
A lot of
dangerous,
fun to
though.
watch.
They're very dangerous.
They are. They are. Let's go to Atlanta. Another team probably on the bottom side of these of the contenders, I would say. But what do you think about the Murray trade? We talked about it when it happened, but what do you think now?
I, I really can't picture this not being the trade of the summer, to be honest.
Really?
Because Cleveland was already good.
Yeah.
Like Cleveland was solid. They showed a good foundation last year with what they had. I mean, their season seemed to be over with Sexton going out, and they emerged.
Yeah.
So like Donovan is obviously going to make them great, but I don't know if it'll be so glaring. This situation, I think, will be glaring.
You think you'll see the glaring
Glaring.
difference
Like they
how they
needed
play?
everything he does.
Yeah.
Like that's what it, to me it's such a like everything that Murray did on the Spurs at a high level, he brings to Atlanta and they need it.
Yep. Yep.
That's
I
why to
agree.
me there's such they were so close to me. He brings a defensive intensity that has to spread throughout the roster. He
Mm-hmm.
brings a transition energy. He's a much more dynamic transition player than anybody Trey has had so far,
Yeah.
including John Collins.
Yep.
I mean, he himself is a lob threat. He's a threat to throw lobs. He makes Trey's game easier.
Yeah.
He takes the ball out of guys' hands that shouldn't have the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's perfect in every way.
I agree, man. I think people are discounting how good this team is going to be. I think you have the guy who led the league in total points and total assists, like for the last 3 years. You just add someone to make it easier for him. Like normally we see teams, oh, it's just going to be different. They're going to have to change their game. I don't think Trey has to change his game.
No.
I think if anything, he's just going to have more chances for open shots, more open shots. We mentioned when the trade happened too. Last season, playoffs, Miami did their strategy was to double Trey as soon as he passed half court, and they had Jimmy Butler and Gabe Vincent out there 40 feet from the
Pounding
basket,
him.
doubling him. Yeah, and then when he would pass it, Herder can score. Bogdanovich took a bad shot. Uh, Collins wasn't all the way healthy yet, but Capella can't score off the dribble or score if you give him the ball where he can't just drop it in the basket. Um, DeAndre Hunter cannot score one on one at all. So they had a bunch of guys who were just standing around hoping that Trey gets more open. And
Yeah.
now you can't double Trey because you have another point guard out there that can get
Yes.
everyone's shots, who can get to the basket, who you really can't pressure because he's so quick, he's so fast. He's a great finisher. His shot is getting better. Um, I love it, man. And we haven't seen a lot of two guard offenses work, but DeJounte Murray really is a shooting guard. He's a point guard in a shooting guard's body, but I mean, playing him at shooting guard isn't that weird. Like,
There's a
you
lot
know,
of wings who play like point, like not point forwards, but like point guards, to be honest.
yeah, it is. Yeah.
And
I mean, you could
he's
argue Fox
another
is
guy
in
like
that
that.
in a similar
Yeah.
situation where Fox probably could be a two and be exactly how he is.
I'd
And
say Jimmy Butler and Paul George are probably like the prototypes
mhm.
to where they're not really they never look like point guards, but they're obviously playing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Murray's actually much more of a point guard than those guys.
Mhm.
And to your point, all the guys you mentioned after Trey getting double teamed, like best case scenario, they shoot and make it.
Right.
Now you're passing the ball. It's like the Draymond thing with the Warriors. You're
Hmm.
passing the ball to a guy who now could like play 4-on-3.
Yes.
It,
And oh, go ahead.
it's gonna make the game so much easier for the guys we've criticized not really having an easy time.
Yes. And Trey really couldn't even run a play because he couldn't pass it and get it back.
Yeah,
Like if he passed it to Bogdanovich, he's not getting it back
right.
ever. And if you pass it to Herter, Herter doesn't have the ball skills to get the ball back to Trey after Trey comes off the screens or the the double screens or the pin downs. He couldn't get it to him. Now you have someone that could get it to him, and if they overplay, he can go score, and that's going to make such a big difference for them, for Atlanta and for Trey.
Yeah.
Um, I'm really excited. They looked amazing in their preseason game. I know it's preseason. I get it. But they looked really, really good playing together at the same time. I think they're going to run the floor better. Even the backups, even the other bench guys that they got along with this trade, I mean, are good depth for them. Frank Kaminsky, Justin Holiday, two floor spacers for trade to get in the paint. AJ Griffin, rookie floor spacer.
They did
Um,
everything right in the offseason.
they did, and they got guys who maybe aren't there right now, but look like have potential. I think Jalen Johnson, who they drafted, I think last year, has a lot of potential. Um, and Jarrett Culver, who we loved in college, just hasn't really had any opportunities to get anywhere. But he's a guy that they're up 40, up 30. He may come in there and look good for them. May find a spot eventually.
Yeah. And
They got
they're
a lot more flexibility, a lot more freedom.
Atlanta over the years has shown like they're capable of being a championship organization.
Yeah.
Like to me, a good example is when if you have an issue with a player but he's a key piece to you being a contender, you find a way to work it out.
Hmm.
Like we've essentially forgot that John Collins practically didn't want to be on the team.
Yeah.
Found a way to keep him, similar to Phoenix, who barely saved their potential championship window by keeping Ayton.
Yeah.
So Atlanta's made all the right moves. It's just got to click. And I can't imagine why it wouldn't.
I agree. I agree. All right. Let's go to Miami. Coming off the Eastern Conference Finals loss, they
A
brought
failure. A
was it a
Jimmy
failure?
Butler led disappointment.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. Uh, Very disappointing. They're bringing everybody back, I think,
Yeah,
and it
they're
seems like they're
running it
bringing
back.
everybody back and more somehow. Like they didn't lose anyone and got
Somehow
more
they got
players.
another draft pick from nowhere who's probably gonna like look like a fucking starter midway through the year.
Oh, he looks amazing.
He looks really
Jovic,
skilled. Yeah.
he looks tough, dude.
He
Like
looks
it's
like he's gonna
crazy.
get Jimmy Butler like 5 assists like every weekend.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Looks
he's
good.
a very well-rounded player. He can shoot. He's really athletic. He's super strong. I mean, he looks really, really good.
My God,
Um,
Miami's so good. Since Bam has emerged into like a top two-way center, Miami has
yeah,
draft or like found two like potentially starting centers,
yeah,
which is
yeah. And
insane.
since Hero has emerged as like a on the top 10 scoring list, they found better shooters.
I know.
Like it's crazy.
And they had Duncan Robinson, who everybody thought was going to be like the next spot up sniper.
Yeah,
Steve
yeah.
Novak.
And Struess and I think Vincent shoots better than him. Like both
Yeah.
of them shoot just as good or better than him now. And then Jovic might shoot great too at 6'10". Um, I don't know what to say, man. They look great. They're going to be good. They brought Oladipo back. He's been healthy for a full summer, like a full summer of health.
Woo, Oladipo might be back.
Yeah. Again, for me, I don't like watching this team because I don't like watching only 30% of all these players play. Like they can't all play good. So like I'm watching
Yeah.
Oladipo, he looks fire for one quarter. He is 15 in a quarter, and then he's done for the night. Like he never takes another shot. It sucks. But
Yeah. You know what's probably going to happen this year? Of all the contenders, and Miami's one of the safer picks to be a contender,
mhm,
we'll probably talk about Miami the least because we know all the tropes we've seen from them, like we'll
yeah,
be ready for.
yeah, yeah.
You know, Jimmy will never let us see how good they actually are.
Mhm.
But yet Jimmy will look like an MVP like maybe 7 or 15 times throughout the year.
And then then he'll like have single digit games. Like once a week he'll have a
He'll
single digit
literally like
game.
not want to play one night, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. And I
Hopefully,
mean,
God forbid, he's an all-star starter this year.
I could see this team having 0 all-stars. Like I could see them having like a really good record and none of them be all-stars because none of them are really contributing enough to be all-star,
Yeah.
like stat wise.
I think Bam will be just all over the stat sheet, so they'll probably put him in there. But
Yeah.
uh yeah, man, this team is like whether they struggle, I won't really have much of a deep dive. If they're good, I won't have much of a deep dive. They'll probably be in the similar situation, maybe not the conference finals. They might run into, Boston in the second round or Milwaukee in the second round.
Yeah.
And it'll be 6 or 7 games, tough series.
Yeah.
Even if Milwaukee or Boston are way better, which Boston
Mhm.
looked way better to me, and it took 7.
Yeah. They're a team because their effort is inconsistent, it's hard to gauge what they might do every night,
Yeah.
you know?
And if
Because they
Lowry's healthy all year, they're probably a number 1 seed
yeah, they might, yeah.
because he
Yeah.
was hurt most of the year last year.
And they're a team, and this is one thing I like about Spoelstra, he never loses to the teams he shouldn't uh
I know.
that he should beat. If he should beat them, they're gonna get beat. Like he knows, hey, we're playing Indiana. We can't lose this game. We're not
I
losing this
know.
game. Which is cool.
Miami
I
only
like that.
loses because they just pass the ball around.
Yeah, they lose because they need someone to step up and they just don't.
Yeah, everybody
And
just drives and kicks. Like you can't just kick,
right, exactly.
and they'll get
Yeah.
stuck all game doing that.
Yeah, Jimmy will take 10 shots and then they'll
Yeah.
lose by 4. I'm like, Jimmy, you could have
Duncan will
took
come off the bench to take 11 and hit like none.
exactly. Exactly. That's how they lose. And the thing is that they're not gonna lose 4 times in a row like that. So because Jimmy is good enough to say, all right, I'm going off this game, and he just does it.
Yeah.
So all right, let's talk about Milwaukee. Is Milwaukee your favorite to come out the East?
Yeah.
Tell me why.
They're a very slight notch below what the Warriors are to the West.
Okay.
And
You meaning you don't care what happens in the regular season, you just know when it's winning time is winning time for them?
unless they're below a 6 seed, they'll be fine.
Yeah,
Uh
gotcha.
I will say I was wrong. I thought, well, my first part isn't wrong. I think they have the best 5-man lineup in basketball with
With
Drew
Ingles?
Middleton. Stop. With Drew Middleton, Giannis, Bobby, and Brooke Lopez.
Okay.
That to me is better than any 5-man lineup in the league.
That's a big statement.
My problem is last year I was so confident in them that I thought if they lost outside of Giannis, they could lose one of those pieces and still go toe to toe, which they did, but they weren't better than Boston
Without Middleton.
without Middleton. That's where they're not quite as impenetrable as the Warriors seem to be
Mm-hmm.
because their play style, which again, they had the same play style limitations when they made the finals run.
Yeah.
but it just seemed like they learned from it. But I mean, you saw it. Middleton goes out, and you get to Boston, and we're living and dying with Pat Connaughton shooting threes.
Right.
Brook Lopez is not getting layups at all.
Right.
And that, to me, like, Middleton going out shouldn't mean that Brook Lopez gets no layups.
Well, for me, I think that they're just not as versatile as they seem. I think just Greek Freak is just that unstoppable that
Yeah, Giannis is kind of fools people.
they play to how you try to defend Giannis. But
Yeah.
it's not necessarily versatile. It's like, all right, well, are you packing the paint? Okay, we're gonna start lighting you up. All right, are you picking him up, far from the basket? Okay, Bobby and Robin are gonna kill inside. It's like that, but it's not to the point where it's like, again, without Middleton, they still looks like the team that they still played the same, that is as if Middleton was there and it wasn't
Yes.
good enough. It's
Yes.
just not good enough. So I think that's the biggest thing. But I think Middleton, he's been healthy
Right.
the rest of
Again,
his
I think
career, so I'm not worried.
if that five is healthy throughout the playoffs, they're going to the finals.
Okay.
And if Budenholzer isn't losing his fucking mind over Bobby Portis for some God knows why reason.
Yeah. Which is still the craziest thing. It's Bobby
He doesn't
Portis should be
deserve,
starting on any other team
dude. Budenholzer doesn't deserve a fucking ring, as far as I'm concerned.
for not starting Bobby.
For limiting minutes of the most important bench player on the fucking team.
Bro, he had Ibaka in there before Bobby sometimes
He really
last
did.
season.
And Bobby just looks so dominant playing with Brook Lopez, of all people.
He does, because when you give Bobby the freedom to take jumpers, he's gonna be tough. Like, he's really, really hard to stop because his little jab step jumper is tough. It's like
He's
he'd
a
be
good
looking like
shooter.
KG out there low key.
He's developed into a good shooter, man.
Yeah.
I just don't like how they fall back into just like drive and kick, the Giannis drive and kick. It's similar to Miami. Like, you could be much more than that. But you're dependent on Middleton's versatility for that and Drew's versatility.
Yeah.
That doesn't guarantee. That, to me, is what makes me hesitate to think that they could beat like Boston definitively or Philly definitively or even Miami. But they're still the favorite. Regardless of any of those problems, they're still the favorite.
I gotcha. See, I agree that they definitely have the best five in the East. I would say definitely in the East. But that is what makes it really tough for teams like Atlanta and Cleveland, who have two, small guards. Drew Holiday is a big guard, and Middleton is a huge shooting guard. And
that
going in
lineup
with
is
that
like
team,
6'5" plus.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Drew's bigger than 6'3". They have him listed as 6'3". He's definitely big.
He's a huge 6'3", because I'm like 6'2.5", and
He's
he
a big
looks
6'3".
Yeah, he's like, he never looks short out there.
6'3" is weird how they say everyone is 6'3". Steph's 6'3", Donovan Mitchell is 6'3", Ja is 6'3", and Ja looks like he's 6'7" sometimes.
I know. And Donovan looks small a lot of the time.
He does. Donovan looks like he's, like his vertical is like 50 inches sometimes because he's so high, so much high. He looks like he jumps higher than Ja.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. The same height, apparently, allegedly.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, they could put out a really big roster out there that makes it tough for those kind of teams. But if I don't think they can keep playing how they've been playing, though. Like, I can't imagine them coming in this year with the same play style they've been having, and just
55
blow
wins,
through the East
no
again.
problem.
They'll have a great record. But I'm saying in the playoffs, I don't know, man.
No, I agree with you, because I think the contenders got better.
All of them did.
Yeah. So I'm with you that, like, they're not quite as unbeatable as they looked 2 years ago. but they
But they still are the
still,
favorites.
you know,
Yeah.
you know what it is? Because when they dominate inside, like
Hmm.
no other team can dominate as a team inside like they do.
That's true because they have a small forward dominating
Right.
inside
Where it's
like that.
small
That's just
forward
crazy.
now. Bobby's like nobody could get Bobby off the glass. Now Brooke Lopez is sneaking in from 35 feet out to get a putback. Like
Yeah.
they're very dynamic. They're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So that's what keeps them having an advantage to me, and it'll keep them at 50 plus wins.
Yeah, and Joe Ingles was a huge pickup for them. Sneaky. I mean, I don't know how healthy he's going to be this season, but I mean, for him they have him listed at 6'8". He's 6'8".
Yeah, he looked. I remember him going toe to toe with Paul George. He didn't look smaller than Paul George, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. A 6'8" guy who probably is going to take some of those Grayson Allen minutes, those Connaughton minutes, those Connaughton
I like
shots,
that. Yes, I actually like
and
that a lot.
be a better passer than both of them. So
And that's
that's
the
going to be
thing.
interesting.
Like I that was kind of the big thing from Chicago to Boston. The role players showed like no IQ in the Boston series,
Hmm.
where we're like the roster is cold and they keep going up. Like
But
Ingles will fucking attack left once,
yeah, yeah,
you know. So
yeah, yeah. All right, last three teams. Let's go to Philly first. We'll finish with the conference champs last. Philly, what do you think? Or you want me to go first?
yeah, I'm curious to hear your thoughts first.
These are my favorites out the East. I think this team,
Yeah,
and, and obviously the Bucks are
I
the
understand.
favorite, but Philly is just the additions they made is just exactly what you need to beat the other teams. I don't know if they have what it takes to win a championship, but they have like exactly what it takes to come out the East. They added the additions. They added Montrezl, great addition. They added D'Anthony Melton, great addition. PJ Tucker and Daniel House. I feel like they added somebody else. Maybe not. But the guys they have coming back are just everybody, basically. Everyone they needed back, they brought back. The guys the new guys they got make everyone else's game easier. They spread the floor. They play lockdown defense. I just can't imagine like Thibault out there with House and PJ and them picking up like full court.
I'd be
And
shocked if
Thibault's
this team
already
doesn't win 60 games.
it would only be up to the beard. And that's the only question mark. And that's the only reason why it's hard to pick them as a contender, as a finals, like a championship favorite, because I don't know which Harden I'm getting or if I'm getting Harden at all or what I'm getting. But with
That's
Maxi,
yeah.
huh?
No, I'm
What?
with you. Keep going.
But with Maxi emerging as a solid 20-point a game scorer at this point, Tobias, I'm still not sure. I mean, we haven't been sure if we get out of Tobias every night his whole career. Embiid is
Facts.
Embiid has been shaded for MVP like 2 years in a row now. And I just can't imagine him not coming out with a chip on his shoulder, man. Korkmaz last year, for some
Look,
reason, Doc doesn't play him that much, but
but
every
he
time he
looks
plays,
great.
he looks great. Like he comes out there like he's Peja when he does play. Like
Yeah.
he looks fantastic. Paul Reed has Doc has already said that Paul Reed is gonna have a bigger role. And last year he had some great moments. He like blocked, I forgot it was he blocked like he had a crazy amount of blocks for someone at his minutes. I saw a
Yeah.
stat that said like for the amount of minutes he plays, his blocks are like the highest. Um,
I hate, of course, Doc. Now, oh, he gets a big. He should have had it last year, Doc. You
yeah,
you reaffirming what the fans were telling you a year ago.
Right. He should have had it last year where he would have had a chance for you guys to not feel like you needed to pick up Montrezl. And now they have Montrezl, and even though he has a chance, he's still not going to play as much as he would have last year because now he has someone who plays his position that, is already established, especially established in Doc's system. So we'll see, man. I
I
mean,
love this
and
team.
adding Montrezl is another easy pick and lob play for Harden that is unstoppable. It's been unstoppable his entire career. He's the best. Harden might be the best pick and lob player we've had in the league.
Yep.
And then now you get Montrezl's the easy one.
Oh, those pocket dump downs. Montrezl's getting to the line like 9 times a night.
He's going to be swinging on the rim every night. And then now you have someone that is a lob threat when Embiid doesn't have to be in there. Like last season, they would put Niang in there for Embiid, or they put did they have DeAndre last year?
Yeah.
Or Dwight? I can't remember.
DeAndre.
They put DeAndre in there, and for some reason he lost all his lob abilities. But Embiid could never fully go outside, and like the team still play well or still work inside out. Now Embiid could spot up, and then you could have pick and roll with Montrezl, with Embiid and Montrezl out there at the same time. And it's just tough, man. They're gonna be a really tough team. And Maxey, you already know Maxey's gonna be ripping and running.
This
nonstop.
team played like you forget how great they played last year.
You can't. Yeah, it's easy to forget because thinking about Harden not playing good is so easy, so engraved in your mind right now.
But they were winning. Harden wasn't playing well. Embiid was in and out of the lineup. They had a lot of guys in and out of the lineup, and they were winning like all year.
Yeah,
essentially. And I'm with you, man. I mean, we talked about this. Their roster is perfect.
It is.
It's perfect.
It is.
But you made the point that you don't know I know you can't trust James Harden. Like that ship has sailed. Harden is not Paul George where we're like, PG, you got to prove it to us like that you're not suspect in the playoffs. You got to prove to me that I could leave you open in the corner and you're going to knock it down, not hit the side of the backboard.
So what are you saying? Harden's already proved it?
Harden has proved that he's a playoff loser.
That's fair. Yeah, he is.
So to me, he's gonna destroy whatever momentum, which I think could be incredible. He's gonna destroy it. He's gonna destroy it because who's coaching them? The guy who probably won't bench him when you need to.
Facts. That's a fact.
My biggest knock is not Harden because, like you said, their roster is good enough to bench him.
Exactly. Yeah.
The biggest knock on this team is fucking Doc.
That's the biggest problem.
I will never again pick Doc Rivers over Eric Spoelstra in a playoff series.
No, you can't.
You can't. I would never pick him over Mike Budenholzer, and I'm not even a gigantic fan of Budenholzer.
I wouldn't pick him over Dwayne Casey. To be honest,
Dwayne Casey, is he really? If you give, let's say, like a 90 overall roster to Doc Rivers and Billy Donovan, who's winning that series?
Billy Donovan every time.
Billy Donovan.
Yeah. If Billy Donovan had this roster, they would have already won. They would have won last year.
They would have been the defending champs. Yeah. The Warriors have been desperately paying Poole like we're a one piece away.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but honestly, the thing is with those coaches, I know that they'll play to their roster's strengths.
Mm-hmm.
I have to question that with Doc.
Yeah.
And that terrifies me.
Me too. It does. It does. And I can't imagine Doc doing that bad of a job this year until the playoffs.
But he surprised me so many times. It's not going to surprise me anymore.
I agree with you. Yeah, I'm with you.
Again, like they were probably the best team in the East all year.
Just about, yeah, most of the year.
And they looked incompetent.
Yeah. especially when they needed to look good, they looked
When they
incompetent.
needed to look good, they looked incompetent.
Yeah.
So I'm scared, but I also think again, like their roster is so good, I can't picture them not dominating the season.
Yeah. Oh, well, we're gonna do award picks after this, but well, yeah, I'll come back to the award picks later. Let's move on to the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets.
What a shit show their offseason was.
Yeah,
But they salvaged it.
They salvaged it big time. They salvaged it just by guys that were kind of question marks as far as pickups go, being healthy now. Like TJ Warren, we weren't sure if he was gonna be ready. He looks ready, he looks pretty good. Royce O'Neal looks like he fits for them. Similar role for Bruce Brown, I get it. Ben Simmons looks good. I mean, he's healthy, he's playing, which is nice. Joe Harris is healthy.
Is he?
They got Joe?
Is Ingles playing starting opening night?
Is who? Joe?
I mean, not Ingles, Harris, sorry.
Harris?
Joe Harris.
Yeah. I don't know if he's starting opening night, but I know he's active at least right now. Yeah. Markieff Morris they got, which is a solid pickup. They're only positives to every team. They kept Seth, which I remember last year.
I know he's not ready opening night.
Pick Seth. Yeah, Seth's not ready. They bring back Claxton. They don't have another center on the roster. Day'Ron Sharp is the center, but he's 6'9". Same height, almost the same height as Joe Ingles playing center.
They won't survive in the East playing without a center.
You don't think so?
I think they'll have a tough time winning games.
I think they'll be able to outscore teams still.
A lot, yes.
But yeah, at the end of the day, if guys can get into the paint and you can't stop them, Nick Claxton can't shoot free throws. He goes for every block.
Neither can Ben.
Neither can Ben. Ben is still missing free throws, man. After all
Ben, after all this time, spent no time fixing his whatever psychological demons he got.
I want a quick shout out to Drummond and even DeAndre for really upping their free throw percentages in their career. Like Drummond hit 3 threes the other day.
Yes.
And Ben Simmons is a guard and can't make free throws. And Drummond was one of the worst free throw shooters in the league, and now he's a good free throw shooter.
Yep.
Greek Freak, one of the worst free throw shooters in the league, and now he can go 100% in games.
Yep.
And Ben Simmons, you had a whole season off. A whole season off.
Come on, man. The back was bothering me. I couldn't get him up. Nah. You know
they
what? They
re-signed Patty. What's up?
Yeah. Hearing you call out their good pickups made me think of the Lakers point I made, where if we're thinking of your pickups as good only because they're not soft, you're horrible.
That's the problem. We don't think of their pickups for fit. We just think of their pickups as they're just decent individual players.
Yes, they give them what they lacked in the playoffs, which was physicality.
Yeah.
They had they're only guys who played well. Dragic, physical. Bruce Brown, physical. Even Claxton, physical. Even Seth played physical at times.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, like, you did improve. Markieff is another guy who's just tough.
Yeah.
He doesn't really make you better. He's just not soft.
He just doesn't make you worse. That's
Royce O'Neal. Royce O'Neal will get cooked, but he'll at least work to he'll make you work to cook him.
Yeah, you're not gonna blow by him. You're gonna have to get
where KD and Kyrie are just go ahead, do what you want.
Yeah, you're gonna need a good double move to get past.
Right, a little pump fake to get him in the air.
Yeah, you need a little something to get past him. Yeah, you can't just blow by.
But again, like to me, whatever problems maybe you fixed, you didn't sufficiently fix them for the playoffs because you matchup wise, you're still not going to survive.
Right.
And now you're adding offensive, like one thing that made me like the Nets in the past is how flawless they looked offensively at their best. Where like every extra pass that needed to be made was always made. KD was making quick moves. Kyrie was not settling for jumpers.
Yeah.
Like now you got to figure out your front court minutes better because Ben and Claxton are weird together. You got like Royce O'Neal you're going to struggle with because I've watched Royce O'Neal play off good players. All he does is put up bricks.
Yeah.
So like
They
you're
still
going to
can't
struggle.
find shots for Patty Mills.
Yeah, you're not going to find shots for some of the like Seth and Patty who are phenomenal shooters. You know, meanwhile, KD's mid-range ISOing on people that he really shouldn't be. And I made the point with Doc. Who is the only contender in the East that has a worse coach than Philly? The Brooklyn Nets. No question.
Yeah. Nash
is horrible. Nash is so bad. He looked like a bad coach in the preseason.
Yep.
So I don't see this team getting any better than what their peak was last year.
I think that they'll have. I think that their record might be very close to the same.
Yeah.
But I think they'll beat teams worse. And that's really it. I mean, they'll beat the teams that they should beat worse than they probably did. And they'll still lose to some teams they shouldn't lose to.
I also think the better teams will dominate them.
Maybe. The thing is, this team is more or less full of quitters. That's the biggest issue for me. I mean, look, TJ Warren, I'm not sure about. Royce O'Neal, he hasn't really had the chance. Patty Mills isn't a quitter. But everyone else on this team, I've seen quit. I've seen Markieff Morris quit. I've seen Seth quit. I've seen Nick Claxton quit. And I don't even need to mention the other three guys.
Of course not.
I've seen it happen. So if we're gonna have a team full of quitters going into the playoffs, I'm not. Another
with the worst
if I'm
coach
on another
in the
team,
East.
I'm not worried. Yeah,
bro, he's probably not even
a quitter.
Yeah, their coach. Forget the playoffs. He's the worst coach in the conference.
Yeah, he is. So I don't have anything else to say about it.
Good luck, KD.
About those guys. KD.
Good luck figuring that out.
Oh yeah, he don't care.
KD will be all right. He gets to just hoop.
Yeah.
I'm so happy it's with the Nets.
Quote unquote. All right. Last team, the champs.
Yeah.
Defending Eastern Conference champs. Boston Celtics. Talk about a team who got a bunch of guys that I'm not sure fit. Boston Celtics have done a great job at that. They got Blake Griffin, Gallinari, who won't play this season probably.
Yeah.
Brogdon.
Great.
Justin Jackson, which is like random. I don't even know where Justin Jackson. I didn't even know where he was last season.
Had to be G League. Had to be lighting up the G League.
Noah Vonleh, your boy.
Oh.
And then they brought everyone else back, basically, other than Tice. What do you think? Robert Williams is missing like the first month of the season, they said.
I know. Yeah, he's still struggling. With Boston, man, the coaching thing is so weird because, like, I think they'll be fine. But there was something about them that was different, and it wasn't really Smart or any of the guys they've had for years.
Yeah.
it did seem like there was something different that made them figure out their problems rather than just keep it going.
I agree. To me, and it still might have been Udoka, but to me, there was a much better form of leadership on the team, and it was more camaraderie on the team to me. And not that I mean like joking around or secret
Yeah.
handshakes and stuff like LeBron's camaraderie, like what it looks like when LeBron does it. But this team, it seemed like they really, to your point, they figured out their problems as a squad. They felt more like a family last season than what we saw under Brad Stevens. And really that was my biggest issue while Brad Stevens was there. I just couldn't see that I couldn't see them building chemistry. And last year we really saw them build chemistry. But you could blow that up with getting a bunch of guys that don't fit on the team. Like Brogdon, we've considered Brogdon a plug and play player for a long time, but I'm not sure if he's that plug and play for this team. Not necessarily, especially since they still don't have a point guard on the roster.
I mean, Brogdon and White split that job, I would assume.
Of not playing point guard.
Pretending to be the one.
Yeah, they do. But
Well,
we saw with
White
them,
fooled a couple people into thinking he was the backup one.
we saw what happened when they needed him to be the backup one last season. It was a
I
disaster.
mean, they only needed
Gabe
him
Vincent
against the
was
best. They
torching.
only needed it against the best team in the league. So I give
The
him a
two,
slight pass.
Miami too. Miami, I mean,
Yeah, you're right.
Miami exposed him. He had a couple of quarters where he looked great, but then any other time, listen, to me, if I'm a front office guy and my top two players break a record in turnovers in the playoffs, I go and get a real point guard immediately. I don't go and get someone that I could still try to finesse into being point guard. That didn't work already. It didn't, we tried to finesse people in the point guard and we broke turnover records. I'm not saying Brogdon is a finesse because he's like the closest thing to not being a finesse while still finessing, I guess. But I don't know, man. It's gonna be interesting. They have a lot of firepower. I like the addition of Blake. If Gallinari makes it at all this season, I like that addition too. But I don't know. I think this team. I think last year was the team's window, and I think if it doesn't work this year, you have to blow it up after this season. I think. I mean, it doesn't have to be an explosion, but we have to split up the guys after this season. If it doesn't work this season, Tatum and Brown cannot come back with this roster, this as many players as they have this season again. And then Horford is going to be probably, you know, in a wheelchair next season. I mean, what are they going to do?
Hey, he looked pretty young in the playoffs last year.
He'll be 38 next season.
He looked like a young 37 last year.
Well, he was 36. He turns 37 in the season, I think. But
Oh, okay.
I don't know, man.
It's hard to picture them repeating what they're doing, what they did last year.
Especially now that the secret is out. Like, look, they're gonna turn the ball over. We see how they play. They're gonna go one-on-one to try to beat us. That kind of thing. More predictable than the other contenders we've talked about, to me.
And I think they need that. I think they need this. I think they will struggle during the season a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
They'll probably fall back into more of that, like Tatum having horrible nights and they just get killed, or just the team not really moving the ball well.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason this team's core has been together so long.
It has since they were all rookies, basically.
And last year, I give them some benefit of the doubt because last year it looked like a complete disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And they focused it all and became a contender over the course of the season.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're like like a danger of not being a top 5, 6 seed.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not better than healthy Milwaukee. They're not better than healthy Philly. They're not better than healthy Miami.
Right. I
Like,
think they have the. Go ahead.
their struggles are much more exposable than those other 3 teams.
Yeah. And unlike the other teams we've mentioned that have made really good changes, they didn't fix anything that they did wrong last season. Like they already played good defense. Like Brogdon is a good addition to this team to what they do already, but I don't know if he improves anything that they didn't do well already. That's the only thing that's tough. I mean, and I'm not trying to single out Brogdon. He's just the biggest pickup they got. I don't think Blake Griffin is going to be like that integral to the team, but all the other teams we talked about made a move to cure a cancer that they had, right? They made a move to cure some tumor that they had that stopped them from being in the finals. And this team just added a bunch of guys. I don't know if they were a team that needed additions. You said not the Nets?
Yeah.
Simmons,
I mean, I
Simmons
guess
is an elite
Ben is
defender.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, Ben's an elite defender.
You know, I will give them some credit. I also think their peak looked better than everybody in the East.
I'll agree with that, and I think it could look even better this season.
Yeah, and that's what like really surprised me as their run kept going, because we were both, negative on them when they struggled. But they would figure out like how to get back to moving the ball.
Mm-hmm.
That's where, and they didn't do it against the Warriors, which again, the Warriors are a different like level.
Yeah.
But everybody else they
league.
played in the East, every time the turnover problems surfaced, they settled down. It went back. Smart is initiating the sets more. Derek White is coming in and has the ball way more than he should.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I trust that they'll figure out any kind of lingering issues they have. I just don't think they're like overwhelmingly better. They're in a similar situation like Miami. They're going to be in a tough series with any of the contenders.
Yeah, I think Atlanta even gives them a tough series.
Yeah.
To be honest.
And it's a toss-up, honestly. That's why I'm so excited for the conference, because outside of Milwaukee, there's 4 or 5 teams that could just be as good as each other at any given time.
Yeah.
And I throw Atlanta and Chicago in that mix.
Yeah. I agree. I would a Boston-Chicago series would be really fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Boston would win, but it would still be fun. All right. Let's talk about award predictions. We went through every team, talked about all the rosters. Who is going to win Sixth Man of the Year? Is it hard to think about for you?
No, I think Dinwiddie is like almost a lock.
Dinwiddie? Okay. You don't think Poole is a lock? It may come down to them two.
Nah, I think Poole wins it. If he's still the same role, if he's the 30 minutes off the bench, which
that's the issue.
It seems like it's going to be.
Yeah.
And if he qualifies, like if they don't, if Wiggins goes out and they start him, which they were pretty committed to not doing that last year.
And now I think they are, the guys that they got make it easier for them not to as well.
But they also, like, Kerr is so goated sometimes that he takes the slightest risks that you'd never imagine. Like when Steph was hurt and Poole started in place for him.
Even when he came back?
Like, that was sick. Like,
yeah.
Are you out of your, like, ideally, if you had just worded that idea to me, I'd be like, dude, you are out of your fucking mind.
Yeah.
But it looked like a flawless move for the one game they really committed to it.
It was like it was the whole end of the series.
But it was like, wasn't it going into round 1? and like he didn't start, and then the next game I think he did, or like maybe he still didn't start.
I think it was 3 games. I just don't remember. I don't remember which ones it was. I couldn't remember if it was Denver or it was the Denver series, I think. And then by the
Yeah,
I don't remember. I don't remember. But
yeah, because
I know
Poole
what you're
was
talking about.
lighting
But it
him
was
up.
more than one game. It was definitely more than one game.
Yeah, and that's why Denver, I remember, looked so hopeless, because like as Steph was getting better, they were still
Yeah.
getting destroyed regardless.
Yep. And then he would come in and go crazy.
No,
Yeah.
but Poole, to me, back to the 6-man point, if he's
Yeah.
qualifying for the season in that role, absolutely.
And that is the question. Will he qualify for that? I don't think he will. So I would probably agree with you on Dinwiddie.
If I'm Steve Kerr, I'm scared to start him for like a week, just because he might get so hot he'll never relinquish. All of a sudden, Clay will come back. Like Clay will come back, and they're like, "Yo, Clay, like you got to lead the second group."
Yeah, I mean, even when Clay came back this year, it was tough. Like you could tell that Clay he wasn't
Clay
used to playing
missed
with
being the
Poole.
second best shooter on the team. That's what he missed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm with you though. I think Dinwiddie probably has the best shot. I think that I don't think the Clippers guys, I don't know who's gonna be 6-man on the Clippers, but they have 3 guards that could all
Yeah,
be 6-man of the year
I
capable.
think
But
at their best, too much balance.
yeah, I was gonna say it's too much balance, and Kawhi is never gonna let them be that great. Like, because if they're a 6-man, they're gonna come in and play with Kawhi. He's not gonna let them get
Yeah. He's
anything
not like
crazy.
letting Kennard run the show for like more than a play.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Or like Reggie Jackson's not getting 15 shots with Kawhi out there.
Oh,
Like,
Reggie, if Reggie's cold this year, he might not be on the roster by the end of the season.
exactly. Yeah. Um. Yeah, I don't really see anyone else who has
Nah.
somebody off the top of my head. I'm trying to think who's 6-man for who would be 6-man for New Orleans. They got nobody really. I guess nobody
It
special.
could be Graham.
Nah, he won't win it. He won't do
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going with Dinwiddie too. I think that's a good pick. Very good pick. Okay. Defensive player of the year. Who you got? This is a tough one.
Yeah, man.
You'll be surprised who I pick.
Yeah, let me hear your picks. Or
I think
your
it's gonna be Bam. I think Bam's gonna win it easily. I think he's been trying to win it, but
he
I
was
think
very
that
close this past year.
he was close. And Smart has been due for it. So I think that they're kind of like catching up on who's been due for it. Like Smart should have won 2 of Gobert's, and Bam maybe he should have won last year's. So I think this will probably be his year. I think that with how good these teams are in the East, even though the centers throughout the East is a little bit weak. I mean, Embiid is a beast, but everywhere else is kind of, they're good, but they're not great. I think it's perfect room for Bam to assert his dominance at center, especially when you got teams that basically traded their centers away, like Brooklyn. Um, and the young centers, I don't know who plays center for Orlando, Wendell Carter, maybe.
Yeah.
Bam's dominating Charlotte. I'm just looking through the teams. Porzingis may give Bam a hard time, but Bam will give him a hard time. So I think Bam will probably be my favorite for defensive player of the year. Because I know Simmons isn't gonna show it all. Kawhi's not gonna play. Kawhi hasn't really played defense since he won defensive player of the year.
Outside of like a few stretches of trying on Luka.
Right. And I think Smart won it, and I don't think they're gonna let a guard win it again. And I think that Smart with Brogdon and the guys they got is gonna separate some of his defensive impact. So, then my dark horse I would say would be Scotty Barnes. Be my dark horse. I think that people really hone in on his defense, so I think when you kind of already tell people to watch out for your defense, they do it. So I think he's gonna have a shot.
I'll give you a hot take because you picked two of the better like defensive situations in general, and
Mhm.
both of those guys like they're kind of the core of the defense. I'll give you a super hot take. Dark horse is Jared Allen
Yeah,
because
very possible.
I don't think Cleveland is gonna try to like really run and gun with everybody.
Mhm.
Because they have much more depth. I think they could have much more versatility. So
Yeah,
I think having small guards, you're gonna be funneling people to the rim.
right.
And Allen is a much higher IQ player. He's a much better pluck guy than people give him credit for.
He is.
He contests without fouling really well.
Yeah,
So I think hopefully he's healthy all year, but if he's playing 82 games, he'll be in the conversation, I think.
I completely agree. And we talked off air the other day. Blocks is a stat that people don't really look at with skill, and it's a tough stat to keep getting because once someone knows you're a good shot blocker, they're not going to keep driving to you.
Yeah.
But Jared Allen shows every single year he's an elite shot blocker. He may be in as far as what I've ever seen in basketball, he may be the most skilled shot blocker I've seen in my lifetime. Just the amount of dunks he blocks is just crazy. He blocks more dunks than anyone I've ever seen.
I know.
It seems like every week he blocks a dunk. He's blocked 2 dunks in the preseason.
And he like surprises you where guys who are stronger than him and have like a head start on him, like he meets them up top and wins the strength battle.
He does.
Where
He
like
does.
normally if Jalen Brown's like approaching the rim, it's over. Like Giannis is getting punched on, but Allen finds a way to, get a piece on it. So he's
He
really good.
does. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great pick. All right. Let's go most improved. Who do you think has a shot at most improved?
I got to think about it.
Um, I think for this one, I will commit to Scotty Barnes winning most improved. Because again, I think that he's gonna have to be a much higher scorer on his team this year. I think that he was I'm pretty sure he was second for rookie of the year last year, right? Like Mobley
He
won
didn't
it,
win
right?
it.
Did Barnes or Mobley win it?
I thought Barnes won it.
Maybe Barnes won it. Maybe. I think he's gonna have the biggest increase in stats though, as far as definitely all the rookies. But I'm looking around, maybe Poole will have a chance to win it since they really rooked him of it last year. But I'm looking at the younger guys. I don't really see anyone taking that big of a step forward like uh like Barnes. Well, so I don't know. What do you think? You
I'll
come
give
up
you
with one?
another dark horse candidate. And again, didn't see them a ton last year, but at their best, he was the
Mm-hmm.
centerpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Porter, who just got paid, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe.
I think he's a guy of all the talent that Houston has, like for them to possibly capitalize on that, he has to be great.
Yeah.
The other guys are kind of a toss up as far as how good they are and what their role is going to be. But Porter has to emerge as at least an on the floor leader for them.
He does. And I think that Scotty did win he did win rookie of the year, but so did Ja, and Ja won most improved. So we obviously know how that goes. But I think that Jalen Green is another one who has a shot on that team. Someone on that team is gonna have to take a big step forward.
Yeah.
And Jalen Green really didn't get a lot of love last year as much as I thought maybe he should have, since he broke only one who broke a rookie 3-point record. I mean, Donovan did that for the Jazz, and it was a big deal. Obviously, because the team was winning, but Jalen did the same thing, and like no one cared about it. So I think it may not even be as far as points, but impact and just more notoriety to it may bring him up to a most improved win too. But those, I mean, this is a really good pick. I think Porter Jr. definitely has a shot because he's someone who probably could average 18 and 10 on this team,
I know.
18 and 9, something like that. Very, very possible. All right. What's next?
Coach
Rookie of the year.
Oh, rookie of the year.
Yeah, we'll do coach of the year last. Rookie of the year. Who you got?
I think, and this I guess will be for me a hot take. I think Jabari Smith.
Really?
I'm trusting whether Houston's good or not, they're gonna be running.
Yeah.
And the stats are piling up. The highlight putbacks, he's getting 3 minimum.
Okay.
I think the narrative will be there. I think if they improve, that'll boost his narrative. I think again, the one thing I could depend on him is he's going to be flying up and down for the lobs, for the easy layups, for the dump down to the rim, punching on somebody.
Yeah.
I think it'll be similar to Scotty Barnes, where his numbers will look better than he probably is at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But just the fact that the contribution will be, I imagine, pretty good.
I like that. I think that's. I would really like if that happened. It's just gonna be tough. There's a lot of scorers on that team. It's gonna be interesting though.
But it doesn't take a lot,
No, it doesn't take a lot. No, it doesn't.
16
Especially
and
when you're
9,
big.
16 and
Yeah.
9, and if the other guys are not carrying, like maybe if Ben Caro is carrying Orlando, but like I doubt we're getting that year 1.
Right. And when you're big, as long as you have the rebounder numbers too, your scoring numbers look better too.
I know.
So, I'm gonna go with Mathurin because I do think that of all the players, he probably will have the most opportunities to fail or opportunities to just like be let loose, I guess. Especially if Indiana's tanking, which they may be tanking and still have a good record, like decent record.
Probably.
I think he's capable of getting 20 points a game, 20 plus points a game. But like I said, Pacers might be terrible. But I think Benedict Mathurin is gonna have a really, really, really good shot at it. And it'll suck if it's like a gimme, but I mean it'll look like that because the Pacers won't be trying to win. But I really think he's that good of a player, that good of a talent. I think he has the highest ceiling out of all the rookies, honestly.
And I probably of all the rookies, I like that he's playing. I like the point guard he's playing with.
Yeah. All right. Let's go. We can go coach of the year now. Coach of the year. This is the last one before MVP. So who you got for coach of the year this year? Coach of the year is tough because you never really know what they're looking at. It is best record, or the team who really performs the best doesn't always win it. It's like the team who surprises you.
So. I'm gonna keep my faith. Ty Lue.
Okay. Has Ty Lue won one yet? No, right?
No. I think of all the elite rosters, he has the best opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. Of the elite rosters, he definitely does.
Like, I can't predict if Houston is a number 3 seed. Go ahead, like just give it to him. You know, anything shocking like that, any team making a huge jump. If Charlotte is a home court in a first round team, give it to Clifford on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
If OKC goes to the playoffs, give it to him. But to me, like I can't picture the Clippers winning one way all year.
That's a good point.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like Ty Lue will have to show us everything they can and can't do
Mm-hmm.
throughout the season. And that's where I think like just we'll know most about them as far as their coaching goes.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Um, I think I am gonna choose Willie Green for this. I think that the Pelicans, if they beat enough really, really good teams, because a lot of times, and this is unfortunate, but a lot of times the nods go to the coach that, like, their record would be decent, but they beat the Bucks, they beat the Celtics, like they beat all the really good
Yeah.
teams, regardless of what happens in the playoffs, or maybe they get 6 seed or something like that, and they get a nod because they beat the really good teams. And I think that the Pelicans are set up for that. I think they're set up for any given night to beat the best teams in the league, to beat the Denvers and the other teams in the West. I think that even with Zion back, I know he's going to get a lot of credit, but I think that he'll ride the momentum he had from last season. Because last season they finished so well, they looked so good in the playoffs. They almost got Phoenix out of here first round. Um, he has so many young players clicking like that. I think he's got a really, really, really good shot to prove himself one of the best coaches in the league. Um, in what, his third year, something like that. Yeah.
I'm curious how CJ and Ingram play
Mm-hmm.
because my thing is with them, like they might play so well that you won't notice Willie Green's coaching as much.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
It's
but
possible.
their pieces are primed to just click.
They are. And the one pushback I'll have is they may play really well, but I don't think anybody will really stand out on the team. And usually when you
Yeah.
have teams like that where it's really balanced,
I could see that.
like when Budenholzer had Atlanta, like there was a bunch of all-stars, but none of their averages were that great. And
Mhm.
really, Korver shouldn't have even been close to being an all-star. But Budenholzer was the best coach that year because
Yeah.
he had that team. But yeah, something like that. I think that's possible. All right. Lastly, MVP. Who you got?
Luka or Ja.
Me too.
I
It's
think
exactly only two options to me.
yeah, man. I think Jokic will relax just because the team to me got a little bit better and healthier.
Yeah.
Uh Nobody on the Clippers is going to be a candidate, of course.
No.
Of course, the Lakers will be horrible. I mean, Embiid, similar to last year, what hurt Embiid was how great Philly looked to me.
And Embiid missing so many games
Yeah, I
because
mean,
they would win without him there. So that takes
that
you.
that's what I'm saying is like
Yeah.
Philly looked fine without him.
Yeah. That's always a big problem.
That's the big knock for Memphis to me, and we talked about it. I can't really picture them going 20-5 without Morant again.
Definitely not. Not with this West.
Right.
Not with how
But
it
if
is
Morant
now.
is there all year, I mean, the momentum, just his transition game, like now you can't take fouls. Good God.
Yeah. There's
He's
gonna
going
be
to
a
have
lot of dunks.
insane plays.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
watching him in the summer and a teeny bit in the preseason, this fucking guy got even more athletic,
He did.
which is just sick. But
Yeah.
I mean, him and Luka are going to be going crazy this year, I imagine.
I think the only issue with Ja is I don't know if Ja is gonna affect the game in any other way other than highlights. And I think that he might, but I know Luca is. Like I know Luca is still gonna be a triple double threat every night. At minimum, double double. But if Ja is giving me 20, 25, and 3, in 3, I just don't know to the voters. I don't know how that looks. I mean, I think he'll have the most dunks. He'll have probably 3 highlights a night, especially with the take foul. Um, but I don't think he'll have the overall impact on the game that he needs to be MVP. That's my only reservation. Now I already had him written down as my MVP favorite. So I'm not saying that you know, that I don't think he'll still win MVP. I just don't think I think that's the only problem he might have. He won't affect the game as much as Luca will. And worst part is Luca's stats say he affects the game, but if you're really watching it,
To
you
me,
don't even
Ja is
notice it.
more of a point guard than Luca is.
He absolutely is.
Because Ja has that like desire to get people the roster the ball, not just the assist or the mismatch.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where I'll give him some credit is I think like Clark is a 20 and 10 threat exclusively because of Ja Morant.
I agree.
Like there's nights where Clark will get you 18 points and it'll be off 9 Morant assists.
Yep. Yep.
To me, like they became more of an inside out team as the year went on, which I really liked, which kind of opened up. And you saw in the playoffs, like Jackson still takes too many jumpers, but he is posting up. He is getting to the left hand. He's trying to get inside a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is where if they keep building on that, I mean, Morant's going to be top 5 in assists by default.
He should be. Yeah. Yeah. You would think so. Yeah. And the thing is, they're one of the few teams that I watched, and we all watched, like truly evolve the whole season.
Yeah.
Like, I think Memphis and Boston, and Memphis was, only a few games from almost, making it to the finals. But Memphis and Boston are the only teams that truly evolved the whole season. Like I saw them be great, saw them be terrible, saw them finally catch their stride. So I do think that as a team, they may find a way for Ja to really be that for them, be the real pillar for them. I'm just not so sure. I'm not sure. And like you said, you can't picture them going 20-5 without him again. I think because they did when he came back, he didn't need to do anything but score. Like he didn't need to pass the ball. He didn't need to get rebounds. We just needed to get buckets. And he went and got crazy blocks and all that stuff just because. So I think he can do that again. I'm not sure if he can do I'm the guy. Give me the ball. I got
There's also a wild card guy that Luka doesn't have to deal with, luckily for him. Like Dinwiddie could be 6th man, but there's nobody in Dallas that could play so well that it'll touch Luka's MVP candidacy.
Like Brunson did?
Yeah. I mean, even Brunson to me was great, but he never showed Dallas as elite without Luka to me.
Mm-hmm.
But like
so
Brooks,
similar situation is Ja. Just not individually for
Brooks to me sometimes played so well that it looked like it almost looks like he's trying to take like how important Ja is away from the team.
Bane too. I mean,
Bane too. Bane would play so well. He'd be like a cutting threat without Ja and only a shooting threat when Ja was playing.
Dude, in the first half of the season, Bane was running away with most improved. Remember, like the first, well, I shouldn't say half, but first third.
Like third, yeah. He was just crazy.
Like, wow. Bane is like, who is this guy? He came out of nowhere. He's obviously the most improved player. Like he was running away with it. So
I remember, and that's where I think like maybe I'm a little more old school with the MVP. Like Luka is the overwhelming favorite because he fits the current criteria. He'll lead the team in every fucking stat category. He'll carry them to 80% of their wins.
Yeah.
With Ja, it'll have to be the 2015 Steph, where the team is so good that Ja really is only averaging 24 and like 7.
Yeah.
But he's the catalyst for, let's just say, a number 1 seed by like 7 games.
Yeah, I
and
got you.
everybody's playing well.
He's the most dominant and best player on the best team.
Yeah, that to me is kind of the scenario where he could really win that over Luka, but just like a stat for stat battle, no chance.
That's the problem with MVP now. It's been diluted to
Yeah,
no
no,
one
you're right.
really knows what it
Guys like
means anymore.
Luka and Jokic and Giannis are gonna be the MVP favorites for like the next 7 years.
Yeah, I mean Jokic was a 7th seed last year, right?
Like 6, 7, yeah.
6th seed, and they he wasn't
Yeah,
in the
they didn't
play-in.
play
So
in
they
the
were
play-in.
6th seed.
Yeah.
They were 6th seed, and he won it.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I
and it
really
was
wish they
mostly
limited
stats.
you got to have home court in the first round. Like set some kind of standard. I know like I
Yeah,
wasn't really mad at Russ winning it when they were 5th because they were just exclusively Russ,
yeah.
but I guess Denver was too. So, but 6 is
And
low to me. Like
and
6 is just crazy low.
and Russ broke records. I mean, Jokic broke records too. It's tough. It is tough. It's tough to really say what it is. I would prefer that they won like one of the stat championships with it. Like if you're not like steals leader, assist leader, or at least like top 5 in scoring. But now it's just like if you just have a really balanced triple double, you're gonna be an MVP candidate, and that's whack. But
Yeah.
it's
But
tough.
the game, part of that is just the game getting so up and down.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. Well, let me ask you this. So which trade do you think is the best trade of the offseason? Going into the season?
My gut tells me Atlanta.
I agree. Which returner from injury makes the biggest impact?
Levine.
And
Well, I guess
who?
Levine doesn't count because he played.
Yeah, and I don't mean just the biggest impact, but is the biggest deal for the team, I should say. Not like who will have the best stats, but
you're not gonna like it, but Kawhi.
yeah, I figured you were gonna say Kawhi. I'm gonna go with Murray, Jamal Murray.
I like that. Yeah, I mean that's easy to me. That's why I really hope. I don't really want to see Jokic as like the overwhelming MVP guy.
I hate watching them play when he's like that.
I
Honestly.
know, like because you could see like they'll win 45 games and it won't fucking matter at all.
Yeah,
because Jokic is enough for 45 with just G Leaguers.
yeah,
but they need another dynamic because they got to the playoffs and just looked rough.
Yeah, and I think the only reason why I say Murray too is that Murray makes them a contender, but Kawhi came back, and it's really everything else they did that makes them a contender. You know.
You know what's funny is Kawhi coming back is like for status for the Clippers because they played like a contender all last year. They just weren't considered one because they're not considered good enough.
Right.
You know, if they sneak into the play-in, I think they would have given whoever they played in the first round a challenge. With Paul George playing. But now with Kawhi, like they could still be doing everything. Like it could be everything outside of Kawhi working well, and people will only consider them a contender because Kawhi's there.
Honestly, if John Wall is like solid for the whole season, they'd be just as good with or without Kawhi this year. To me, I mean, like adding John Wall to what they had.
If Paul
last
George
season
is doing what he did most of the year, oh, dude, Kawhi load managed the whole year, bro. Just take it easy.
Yeah, come back for the playoffs if we need you.
Right.
Like
if we might not.
Yeah. All right. That is all I have. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, we've touched on every team. Season starts tomorrow. I'm excited to watch the Lakers get blown the fuck out.
The Warriors are gonna look so good.
Yeah, I'm gonna need
They
the
look
NBA to
great.
keep the NFL's doing this where they're like the top like rivalry matchups where we're getting them every year. I'm
Yeah,
gonna need the opening night always, the Christmas games. Like I need the top matchups always.
yeah. They've been slacking on the Christmas matchups, to be
Yeah,
honest,
a
lately.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. I need that. I need the opening day and the matchups. The opening day, I remember they started really like doing really well when who was it? I guess when they started with the Warriors and man, I can't remember now. But a while back, they started the LeBron versus Kawhi like opening day every year.
Yeah.
Remember?
And that's what
And
like
that was
keep
nice.
building that like rivalries like that. I don't want to see, bro. I've never wanted to watch the defending champs go at it opening night or like the finals rematch.
Yeah, yeah.
Because most of the
The
time
conference
it's
finals rematch is cool, but not the finals.
yeah, but the finals to me, it's always one team is either the champs are too good and they dominate again, or
Yeah,
they're too, hung over from the joy of the ring that they get
yeah,
destroyed.
right. Or somebody's hurt.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's tough. Yeah,
I want to see if I'm the commissioner and I just saw what Memphis and the Warriors went through, I would have been filling out whatever it took for them to play opening night, Christmas, like every key day of the season.
are they the who is the Christmas games this year? Are they the Christmas
Yeah.
this year?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's gonna be fun. It is gonna be fun. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun season, man. I really hope there's no injuries this year. That's what I
Yeah.
hope the most out of the season.
I hope for that every year. But my big thing is, and I haven't checked the schedule like thoroughly, but I hope we get some of the Eastern teams, some of the contenders going at it early on.
Hmm.
I really want to see like Philly, Milwaukee early on, like, Boston, Miami early on.
Yeah, Miami got off the hook for Christmas, which is whack.
They're
Philly and
pretty.
New York on Christmas. Ugh.
I mean, Miami's just as boring as New York for Christmas to me.
Because Jimmy will decide not to play on Christmas Day, like when everyone
For
can actually
sure.
watch the
For
games.
sure.
Dude, I'd be so mad if I got tickets to a Heat game and Jimmy doesn't take 15 shots in the game. I'd be so upset. But
I don't think I could go. If I was like a full-time Miami fan with Jimmy there, like his tenure there, I
yeah,
would have been just so miserable.
just wait till the playoff game, every other playoff
Screaming
game.
every playoff game. Like, oh God, couldn't be me.
Yeah, yeah. But all right. Thank you guys for listening. Next time we talk, NBA will have started, which is great.
Yes.
Uh,
We will be back
so
on football over the
we will,
next
yeah.
in the next
Yeah.
week or two.
It's ramping up, it's getting good.
Some
It's
crazy stuff going on.
yeah, yeah. MVP race is getting a little bit foggy now. I mean, it's like two players now and everyone else.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that later. But yeah. Again, thank you for listening. Please subscribe, follow us, all that stuff. You know where to find us. And talk to you guys next time.